What is going on, everybody? This is episode 161 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I will. Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Nice to see you today. TGIF.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Doing good?
I'm in high spirits.
High spirits? We have a guest host today. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
I am Ian Crossland. Ian Arthur Crossland, for those who didn't know. That's my middle name.
I didn't know. I didn't know what the A stood for.
The A is Arthur.
It's a nice name.
Like King Arthur.
Headphones coming in good.
Headphones are great. Yeah, we just did a last-minute sound check. One of the other headphones was only coming through one ear, so
we are moving forward. We're going to keep going. I think it sounds good. It sounds good in my headphones.
Sounds great.
I think we're good. All right, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. So I want to go into a bunch of Marvel stuff that I kind of there were things that came up throughout the week that could have been talked about that I just didn't have the inclination to cover individually, but decided to put them all into kind of one topic to cover. So we're going to cover that, including where the box office is going right now for the company. Then we're going to get into this article about a very, very crazy story from the set of a reality TV show. I don't even want to spoil it right now. We'll get into it when we get there. And then we've also got, what was the third over here today? Oh, we got celebrity families, which me and Mary have harped on about.
Specifically Nick Cannon and Khloe Kardashian today, because they're doing some crazy stuff in the news.
And just the idea of what it means to have a family
Yes.
when you're that level of fame and fortune and stuff like that, and how we think that they're kind of altering the way that families looked at, through their money.
I have many opinions.
Yes.
Just few.
So we got that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of stuff. So if you guys are ready, we're just going to get right into it. Are you ready, Mary?
I am so ready.
Ian?
freaking ready, man.
Let's do this. All right. So, actually, you know what? Before we do that, we are going to take a lesson from our patron saint. Chet Hanks
What a treat.
Yes, Chet Hanks does have some stuff to say to us today. So before we get started, we are going to listen to what Chet has to say today.
Yo, check this out. So everyone's always talking about speaking things into existence, right? Making vision boards, putting it out into the universe, telling everybody their plans. Like that's gonna make that shit happen. I wanna challenge you. Instead of speaking things into the universe, into existence, why don't you try doing things into existence? Better to keep shit to yourself and then just go do it and not tell anyone than make a fucking vision board and then not do shit that you said you're gonna do. You get me?
I get you.
Does anybody know what a vision board actually is?
You make magazine clippings and put it on poster board?
Is that what that is? Ian,
That's it. Yeah. Could be. It's usually a lot of magazine
Or Pinterest?
clippings, yeah.
Is
Pinterest is
that a
digital
thing?
one.
People.
Of course.
Oh,
Well,
vision, like Pinterest is a vision board. Okay.
Yeah, like digitally, but sometimes people think it means more if you do it like real, like tangible.
Okay.
You know.
So Chet is telling us, just actually
stop
do it.
talking and start doing. Walk the walk.
Yes, there is something to it. I found when I started making internet videos like 2006, I was like, well, what if I was telling people I'm gonna fill in the blank, and it was almost as if I'd already done it. I felt like my mind was like,
You
all right,
get like an
it's
endorphin
complete.
hit from
Yeah.
talking about it that prevents you from working on something that you actually care about doing.
That's what felt
So,
like. Yeah, that would seem like it would happen.
I think that's happened to me plenty of times in life. Like one of the good things here is like I'm so busy that I can only do. I don't really have time to talk about it. I can only really do it and then keep moving forward. So Chet, as usual, Chet is on
Dropping
his
wisdom
game.
for us.
Just dropping mad
Thank
wisdom.
you.
Chet.
So. All right, so we're going to get into this one first. It says, the first article said why it's okay to criticize Marvel now, which is really funny.
Well, I'm happy to see this.
Yes.
Marvel's always a cheap laugh.
And that's a problem for me because 5 years ago you were not allowed to criticize Marvel. Thank you.
Wait, really?
Yeah, people have their
I mean,
problems
I
with-
wasn't super plugged into like the Marvel Cinematic Universe in what was that, 2017?
But a lot of these people, like, you can't criticize it because you're somehow a bad person. You're an istophobe. You're racist, sexist, homophobic, something or other. It's stupid.
The same angle of like why you can't criticize Moses Ingram's acting.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
a tactic that will literally never end. It will go on forever.
Well, it'll end when people stop caring.
So, but the number one thing we talked about was, before we get into this, was I said to you when they did 144 million for Thor: Love and Thunder last weekend, and I said that doesn't really matter because what matters is the legs that a movie has, and that comes from good word of mouth. This movie does not have what I would call good word of mouth. It has average to below average opinions from the general public. It's got a fairly high rating on audience score on
It's like
Rotten Tomatoes.
85% audience score.
And
right?
I've actually got some interesting. Thank you.
What happened? there?
I think it's stuck for you. I think
Uh-oh.
it might have been jammed. We
Okay.
need common sense money gun control. That is a problem. One thing that I noticed was like when the audience score, when the critic score is very high and the audience score is very low, that means that it's astroturfed by the companies that are advertising on these websites. When it's high audience score, low critic score, that means it's somewhat more organic. What's more interesting to me now is when both of them fall somewhere closer to the middle or both of them end up medium to high, because that's where you really get an idea of where entertainment would be for something that's either apolitical or not motivating enough for the people in the press to kind of try and astroturf
I think that
it.
just indicates that Thor: Love and Thunder was aggressively mediocre.
Yeah. So what they're saying here is a 65% drop from weekend 1 to weekend 2, looking at about 50 million this weekend, which again, for a Thor movie, for a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, isn't really all that great. And a 65% drop is pretty hefty. I remember when Batman vs. Superman came out, that was a big pushing point from, Collider and all these sites that wanted to trash on those movies. Thank you. On those movies is that they love to point out when it goes bad for the ones that they like, for the franchises that they don't like. For the ones they like, they always frame it differently. They're like, for
Would
instance,
they be expecting triple digits
for the
in
second
box
weekend.
office second weekend?
or at least high doubles. 80
Yeah.
to 90 million, you would think, for a movie that say Chris Hemsworth is a very big name. Natalie Portman is still a very big name. You would expect this movie to at least pull in closer to a 50% drop in under.
Well, after watching that mess, I doubt that anyone was going home and like telling people to go watch it. But also I don't know anymore because my opinions don't reflect the audience reviews. So
There's also no this is a thing where a big problem is there's no big general competition, right? There's no new movie coming out other than what's it called, the Crawdads. Yeah, so like there's no big budget movie coming out to dethrone it, so it's going to stay at number 1. But a 65% drop is immense for a film like this. So the question is, why are we now allowed to criticize Marvel? Why would you think that is?
I mean, do you think that their lack of competition, I want to ask first, like, is it related to COVID?
What do you mean?
Just not as many competitors in the box office right now just because of a recession, because people will take any entertainment at this point.
But they're saying box office this year has been very good compared to, obviously compared to 2021 and 2019.
Couple of years, sure, but
so
it hasn't returned to normal, has it?
I think you're right. LA got rocked. The whole movie scene industry got rocked by COVID.
Yeah.
So much got shut down. And
I'm sure they're still enforcing things.
Yeah, small companies that want to do stuff are under massive pressure to fall in line in that industry, in that city, especially in LA. So that's a good point. I hadn't thought that, like, because business consolidation is a big part of COVID. With like Amazon and all these companies getting massive. So Disney is another one that got super wealthy during this period.
Disney got rocked very hard because the theme parks are where they make more money off theme parks than they make off
theme parks. Shut down.
Streaming services, they got enriched by COVID because everyone had no choice but to use them.
And that's a bubble that's about to burst with people limiting their purchases because of recession or I guess inflation and recession oncoming.
I would just say that the box office has not returned to pre-COVID for sure.
And I think a large part of this is astroturfing, meaning that you can fake it all you want in the media, but that doesn't make it real. And the best example I have of this was I was looking through these articles that says Iman Vellani wants Miss Marvel to be the next Spider-Man. Now, I finally got through the first 2 episodes of Miss Marvel. I can't. It's literally for 15-year-old girls. It's not for
But
me.
it's literally not. Tell me,
I didn't.
Where is the demographic of teenage girls watching Miss Marvel? I don't think it actually exists.
According to Samba TV, they made great inroads, and I think that's really what's really funny about this is what I was going to point out next is like they like high demographics in the 20 to 24 age range. I'm like, that's not a very high. That's only like 4 years worth of people. You shouldn't be. All of these people are looking to subsect down into. We want to expand into this demographic. We talked last night about the phantom audiences and phantom demographics that they're looking for. I think yours, you got to take it all out and then
I did.
and reset it.
I'm not sure why it's
don't know.
still doing that.
Jammed.
It's jammed. Well, like I said, common sense money gun control. It's a problem. There's a bill stuck. Thank you. And I think that they're looking for these phantom demographics to constantly expand, and they're not there.
What's this? The next Spider-Man?
So the idea here is that they want
What
because
happened to gay Spider-Man?
that's comics only. That was
For now.
Webweaver was comics only. But the idea here is that I don't think that they can really put a statement on just how popular of a character Spider-Man is.
Yeah, I mean that's like saying the Fantastic Spider-Man's the next Fantastic Four or Iron Man's the next Spider-Man. Like, dude, they were all different characters.
But Spider-Man is their number one earner.
So they want this character, Miss Marvel, to be the next number one earner.
And which is just, and this is why I bring up
That's a pipe
astroturfing.
dream.
It's never going to happen because it's never going to be as organic as the growth that Spider-Man had over 80 years.
Sure, it's devastating to think that they're referring to Spider-Man as just an earnings thing, like not as actually
they're
the character and the creation and the creativity. If that's what they want, they're going to make something completely new.
Yeah. So she says here, it would be fun to see Kamala post the Marvels after she fought with her idol, Vellani said. It's similar to what Spider-Man went through fighting with the Avengers in Civil War and going back to being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. She's talking about it on a character level. But what they're looking for at the studio is I think they got really attached to the idea of having a character with the Marvel name be their number one earner, right? Be their number one flagship character. Another thing is they don't own the rights to Spider-Man in the films outright. Sony owns the rights to. They basically lease him. They've leased Spider-Man back to Marvel to use for their films, and they're looking for that magical character that can bring in all demographics all at once while also earning insane amounts of money, but with none of the 80 years of history that Spider-Man has or the mass wide range appeal. And I think now, this is because when you look at Spider-Man, the idea here is that anyone can see themselves as him because they don't ever focus on what his characteristics are. The fact that he is a white dude doesn't matter. The fact, maybe you could say that the fact that he's a teenager, or I guess a young adult now, but like that he's young and idealistic, that matters. But what he looks like doesn't matter. But what they keep drawing back to conclusions for Miss Marvel as is she's, they literally have an article here, and I don't think I have
Miss
it on that one.
Marvel's ethnicity, nationality is at the forefront of the plot
Which
at this point.
automatically limits your audience because
It doesn't develop the character.
Spider-Man can appeal to everyone because they don't talk about those parts of him, right?
Yeah, it's
so
about his family and his friends and stuff.
every kid can see themselves with a Spider-Man costume on. Like, Miles Morales is actually a fairly popular Spider-Man, but Peter Parker is your quintessential version of that character, and that's because everyone who loves what Spider-Man stands for as a hero can see themselves as that person, but they're obsessed with the actual physical characteristics.
Right. Spider-Man's greatest, I think one of his greatest characteristics was that he was an abused nerd.
Yeah.
Like that was like so many people can identify with being a nerdy kid.
So it says, Miss Marvel season 1 final recap final, an uneven narrative gets multiculturalism credit. So they're saying basically the finale was blah, but because it embraces multiculturalism, that's good.
So that sounds like a critic statement,
Yes,
not a
it
fan's.
is.
Okay.
It's a critic statement. That's the thing. But this is my problem with it, is that they are trying to astroturf in this character when it's naturally going to only appeal to a certain demographic.
You can make up for any steaming pile of garbage excuse for a TV show with messaging. Like, if you promote a certain message with it, then it doesn't matter if the plot was actually well written.
Yep.
If it actually
like
appealed to
attrition.
fans.
Just, it's like in a war, like, yeah, we lost 100 million men, but we took the hill.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Like,
you
it's
lost
all about
100
the
million men.
cause
It's called a
with these
Pyrrhic
people.
victory.
It's not even about money. It's never.
It's not
They
anymore.
actually don't care about whether their projects make money anymore because they're so enriched, and also their egos are so inflated. They think they can't go wrong.
Yep.
I want to point out I'm getting really tired with tight spandex or latex costumes. People do not wear those. If someone was really awesome, they wouldn't wear one of those.
So what do you think they should
Really?
wear?
What do you
Like a
think
normal
about
outfit, like a
Batman's
t-shirt
bat
and
nipples
jeans?
then?
Batman
Yeah.
wears
That was
Batman's
armor.
is more like
Nipples,
combat
I'm-
rubber.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. How about just like some normal clothing? Why does it have to be like a trench coat? Why does it have to be like the Matrix? I thought they were wearing pretty cool outfits in the Matrix. They had
superheroes. Trench coats in the Matrix.
Yeah, they were trench coats. But this tight latex thing, it's like it's very 50s, and they're still doing it.
They can't move on from that look.
Yeah.
So they point out here that Miss Marvel dethrones Black Panther to become MCU's highest rated project. Now that's misleading in its title, because highest rated project does not mean that it's got the highest ratings. It means that the critics gave it their highest ratings. It's fixed.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, finally.
So it's one of those things where if you have to make it about these characteristics, which arguably, and I've made this point regularly, that if you like as a person, what you look like should be the least interesting thing about you.
I was just thinking about this last night while I was just like doing my dishes or something. I don't even know what I was doing. I was thinking like, no, Brett's wrong about that.
I'm not wrong about that.
I was like thinking about this because I don't think that your ethnicity or how you look is the least important thing about you.
Interesting,
or
not important.
Who you are or interesting. No. It is salient to your identity. Therefore, it is interesting. It is a part of every person's personal story, and then it's going to be part of a fictional character's story. But the problem is that they're zeroing in on that and nothing else.
Yes.
And not writing a story that has to do with any other human interaction or like interesting, like visually interesting scenes. Like that's the only thing that they're focusing on. I understand you criticize them for that, but I don't think it's valid to say like, oh, that's the least interesting or important thing about a person is their ethnic
then
background.
The least interesting place to put the story focus.
Yeah, in like the theater, or really in any time you're making art, you break it into, or like movies and TV theater, you break it into theme, character, plot, and spectacle. And they're the ethnicity is spectacle. It's the outfits in the graphics and stuff. It's all spectacle, and they're very spectacle heavy. These are all about the large,
especially with Miss
special
Marvel's
effects.
Well, to be fair,
focus
Miss Marvel
on partition.
But where's the story? Where's the plot?
Yeah.
What's the plot? The plot.
That's taking a story from real life, from like actual history,
Yeah.
and also she's not doing anything like of her own. Like there's no story in her own right.
So
make up for it.
You want to balance it out. A good movie will have a balance of spectacle, theme, plot, and character. This seems like they're just obsessed with spectacle, with like, and then they like give you the spectacle and say that that's the character. Like, hey, the skin color's a certain way. That's not the character. That's the spectacle. What the character looks like. The character can be anybody. It's still the person. Like you can have a black person play a white character, or a white person play a black character. Doesn't matter. But the spectacle.
And that stuff, like we may talk later about the Game of Thrones, House of Valerian changes. That less than most people, that stuff doesn't bother me. I know, like especially as long as they don't talk about it. Like we were talking about Regé-Jean Page possibly being cast as James Bond. Doesn't bother me.
They were also talking about recasting his character in Bridgerton.
Yep.
But the problem is that it's hypocritical, because if you race swapped in the other direction, there would be outrage, and you know that. So it's like, I don't want to treat them like they're intellectually honest. They're not.
And they're not. They will complain going the other direction and tell you that's bad. They'd see it as a way of like they're just cementing their like. In fact, you know what? I'm just gonna pull up the Game of Thrones article while we're in here, and we'll talk about it. It's a little bit. It's not off topic, but basically it says showrunner for Game of Thrones spinoff House of the Dragon says House of Valerian race swap to avoid putting another bunch of white people on screen. There's a lack of self-awareness.
Like that is what it's about.
Yes.
It's about not white people rather than elevating the career of an actor of a different race. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about like negating something rather than creating a new thing.
But there's a weird like lack of self-awareness in this article from the showrunner. So he says We'll go down here to the quote. He says, making their first proper appearance in the second novel in George R.R. Martin's Song of the Ice and Fire series, A Clash of Kings, House of Valerian of Driftmark are said to be the oldest of the Targaryen allies, finding themselves united in their dealings in Westeros by their shared Valerian ancestry. And then we go down to where his quote is. He says, however, with the casting of Stephen Toussaint, Savannah Stein, John McMillan, and Will Johnson as the various members of House Valerian in the upcoming spin-off series, Condell, that's the showrunner, and his co-showrunner Miguel Sapochnik have inverted the family appearance, replete with a swap of their lineage, hair color from gold to silver, to depict them instead as a wealthy clan of black nobles. The sole exception of this seems to be, okay, and then we go down here, it says, speaking to the decision during a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, Condell explained that the House of Valerian was explicitly race-swapped because it was very important for Miguel and I to create a show that was not just another bunch of white people on the screen. We wanted to find a way to put diversity in the show, but we didn't want to do it in a way that felt that like it was an afterthought or worse, tokenism. It's literally tokenism what they're doing here. The lack of self-awareness is staggering.
What is the difference between... I mean, I want to see it from their perspective. I don't want to just say it's tokenism. Like, I want to know their reasoning behind, like, thinking that they're innocent of that charge.
So he says he further asserted that the idea to depict House of Valerian as black was inspired by Martin's own admission that he had played with a similar concept during the development of his fantasy intrigue series. Once we had the idea, it just felt like that everything fell into place, Condell asserted. This idea, as described by Condell, was first touched by Martin amidst a 2013 discussion on his blog regarding Game of Thrones series accused lack of representation. So he's already on the defensive when this comes up, because he's being accused of something. So he's going to say, oh, I almost did this, because what he's doing is he's responding to somebody accusing him of something awful, which is to say, you're a bad person for not doing this. You're a bad person for not doing this, which puts R.R. Martin on his heels in a defensive position, right? He's not being intellectually honest about what he created. He's trying to justify his choices, which he should never have to do in art.
Well, I think you should have to justify your artistic choices, but not for the reasoning of, like, tokenism and all of these cheap surface level aspects that have nothing to do with the story. But, like, I don't want to get too into the weeds about this, but it genuinely seems like they don't think a character has depth unless they look a certain way, meaning not white, not straight, and not male.
It's boring to me. Like, that
it's
discussion
really actually
is
just
boring
degrading to the art form.
Yep. To me, that it's like, imagine like if you've written a book, so like you wrote a book that's on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine you're like that was a collection of stories, right? Or
it's kind of more like a manuscript or something.
You play D&D.
Oh yeah.
But imagine that you're creating a story from scratch, right? And you have this great concept for what you want to make. And you have all these high-flying ideas of where it's going to go and what it's going to be. But then you have all of these people in the, whether it's critics, whether it's people...
consultants, sensitivity consultants, and middle management types, and PR
who just take the joy of what you want to create, creation. Take that joy and step on it with the sensibilities of the real world around us.
Yeah, I think when you're creating a fantasy realm, you've got to be somewhat realistic. The reason why skin color changes color is because of where they are on the planet. So, like, people in the far north in the ice, their skin gets lighter over time, and the people in the dark jungle or in the south, their skin gets dark over time. The people underground, the skin gets gray over time.
Yeah.
And the people on the surface doesn't. So you've got like dark elves that live underground. It's not racist. It's just that's what happens when you don't get sunlight.
Yeah.
Or if you get excessive amounts of sunlight, that your skin will start to darken. If you don't get any sun in the north. So like, as long as they don't make the guy's race his part of the show, I don't think it really matters.
Well, that's just like when we were talking about if they were to cast Regé-Jean Page as James Bond, I think that works fine. It's just that you can't then.
I didn't like the casting decision just because he, as I said, looks like he would order an Impossible Whopper.
If he bulked up, like, it's funny because I was talking about Henry Cavill would have to lose muscle mass to play James Bond, and Regé-Jean Page would have to
He
like.
looks like he would work at BuzzFeed.
But he's dapper looking. He's very dapper looking.
Only because he was on Bridgerton.
I think
that's where all the promotional footage comes from.
There was one photo, and I don't know what it was a photo of him in, but it was a photo of him in a tux. The lighting was perfect. I could see him.
Is he British?
He's British.
Okay.
So I see this photo of him, and I'm like, I could see him playing this character. But you can't then make the story about his immutable characteristics because that's not James Bond.
How do you feel about, or both of you, how do you feel about like historical accuracy? Like if there's a historical figure, does it matter if they're race swapped?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it was weird seeing was it Anne Boleyn played by a black woman. It was like, well, Anne Boleyn was a white woman, but I mean, in the theater they were like, whatever, anybody has a chance. The best actor gets the role, and that's as far as I'm concerned. That was cool because it gave me an opportunity to play stuff that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to play. There's value to being like, this is as close to what we think this person looked like, and so we got the actor that looks like them. But there's also value to giving it to the best actor, regardless of the way they look.
I mean, would a black woman play Madonna in her biopic? I don't think that they would make that casting decision. I think it's only once someone is dead and gone that they feel like manipulating people's public perception of them.
Yeah, it will manipulate what people, because there will be people who don't know that this is going on in the media, who will not see nefarious means for choosing to do so, will then see it and wonder like, oh, she wasn't.
Yeah, because you want it to make sense. I'm thinking about Dungeons and Dragons again in the realm of like the Forgotten Realms is one of the most popular Dungeons and Dragons realms, and in there's this place called Calamsham to the south, and it's like this desert kingdom where this people's skin is darker, and it's supposedly like North Africa, but the way they build the realm is very much like Earth. Like the people in the north have lighter skin, the people near the equator have darker skin, and like if you wanted to make the people from the far north Icelands dark skinned, it just wouldn't make sense chemically, because they're surrounded by ice. Their skin would adapt and blend in with the surroundings. So like you could do it. It's just like, do you want to confuse children about science and like the way biology functions just to make a point about diversity?
I'm
because
sure
that's
they
the way
would
you
say,
wish it worked.
It's not that deep. You're looking too far into it. But then again, that's hypocritical because they are very deliberate about the decisions.
Because it does get old when you always have the people near the equator with the skin tone getting darker. It's like, okay, like just because that's the way it works doesn't mean that's the way it always has to be in every fantasy realm.
Yep.
Like
you can have whatever if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also different than historical accuracy, which is somebody that actually existed in the real world. So that's I'd see those. I don't see those as one-to-one comparisons.
I think fantasy is also lost on people, especially Marvel fans, because it's been made so robotic and computer generated.
Yeah. And like I said, the thing that sticks out to me the most whenever we talk about this stuff is the lack of joy that I get the sense of. I don't get a sense that the people who are passionate about who claim to be passionate about these things these days, that it is, at least as far as like the mainstream stuff that I'm seeing coming out, it feels very boiler room, like it was literally created on a conveyor belt of blandness. I don't feel the sense of creation and joy that used to be there for fans of these genres.
You know about the orcs, like they're saying in Magic. I don't know if it's Magic the Gathering or something, but they're trying to like say, well, okay, for instance, in Dungeons and Dragons now, what they've said is all classes and races, all races now have no inherent bonuses. It used to be back in the day, the orcs, if you played as an orc character, you had naturally a plus to your strength and a minus to your charisma, because that's just how society viewed the orcs. Dwarves had a strength to a bonus to their constitution, but a negative to like their wisdom, because they were like smash it.
And now
but
that's
now it's
somehow
like
bad
everybody
because
has no bonuses. No one has any negatives. You get to pick what your bonus and negative is. So you could be an orc with with a bonus to your intelligence and a negative which makes absolutely no genetic sense. But they want to like make diversity amongst fantasy characters, but they're saying, oh no, but they were saying that orcs were like the black people of the game, and elves were like the white erudites of the game.
It in such a like
only a racist person
you
could
have
into it.
You could have a black
way.
dude that's a human in the game. It doesn't
you.
matter what your skin color is. They're like actual animal species, kind of, is the idea, or races.
I always feel gross even have to talk about this stuff, but it is relevant.
I love it because elves.
No, I mean like just the fact that like the people who would make those claims, like that the people that actually said that the orcs are the black people of.
Oh, it's ridiculous because you have black humans in the game.
Yeah.
So no, it's not true. First of all,
And it's something that
maybe
would
they're
only come.
Neanderthal if you want to.
And it would only come from somebody with like a liberal arts like critical theory, like
whose
like,
imagination has been severely stunted
Yeah.
by being like an egotistical academic.
Yeah, only a critical theorist could come up with
Right.
those types of. It's like the people that when they did like the critical theory takes on Tolkien, and it's just like you read it and you're just like, oh my god.
I do love the conversation. It's a
Yes.
conversation everyone can have too, which is cool.
Makes me feel
That's where you get what is this new Lord of the Rings thing? Rings of Power.
rings power.
Yeah, that's where that comes.
What if
in.
you're like, my skin got a little more yellowish, now I'm a better wizard? And like, what are you talking about? Dude, just be who you are, man. The power's within you. It doesn't matter. Your skin color can change over the course of your life, too. It doesn't really matter.
Amen.
Like, I was in L.A., man. My skin was getting way darker
Way
being
darker.
in L.A.
Yeah. Super chats.
Let's get into it. Cody33C said, "My favorite Nixon conservative, Ian."
That's you.
It's me.
you
you're
know,
the-
dope
And
is
if you-
for dopes.
If you don't believe it, check out Cast Castle. The vlog came out today. Do you want the truth?
You did fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Jonathan Harris said, "Brett, I'm disappointed you were on IRL last night and didn't mention Luke's shaft cam."
That is true. I got the.
Why
I
not?
last minute they asked. They needed me, and I was in the middle of doing something. And I had a note. I said, make sure to mention Luke's shaft cam, but I forgot the note on my upstairs studio. I'm sorry.
GLS Incorporated said, "Brett, watching IRL could only wonder what's the story with the Twins gear."
Well, I'm from
this?
Minnesota. That's why I represent and I wear the Minnesota Twins hats, and I also wear Minnesota Wild hats, and I wear Minnesota
Thank
Gopher
you.
hats, and it's just representing where you're from.
Is that the Twins hat right now?
That is a Twins hat.
How come it's all black?
Just I have them in all colors.
Oh, cool.
yeah.
What's the C? Is it a T?
Twin.
in-
It's Twin
Twin
Cities.
Cities.
Yep.
Caper2X said, "Make mine Marvel. There's always the next movie."
And,
Nope.
Black Panther 2 comes out later this year, so we will see that
mean,
when
yeah,
when
we're
that
gonna
comes
see
out.
it, but-
There was an article about Daniel Kaluuya saying that he's not going to be. He wasn't in it because he's in Nope. He's in the new Jordan Peele movie that's coming out. There was an interesting article that I don't necessarily know if I buy the supposition from Bounding into Comics, saying that this seems to cement the fact that it's going to be an all-female led movie, which seems like they're making. I mean, it's probably true, but I don't know if that was necessarily what they meant for.
And the other one, lead from that movie was he died,
Yes,
right?
Chadwick Boseman passed away. I do
Was
know
that
that
cancer or
I believe he had cancer.
Yeah.
I don't remember 100%, but it was something. It was something like that. But another actor that's in that movie is an actor named Winston Duke, and he is coming back. And Winston Duke is one of those actors that he started off not that long ago. He had a guest role in season 4 of Person of Interest, and really came into his own as an actor down the line. So he is one to watch. He's fantastic.
Gray Pilled said, "Ian, check out Steins Gate. Sent a trailer on Minds."
Oh, thanks.
What's that?
I don't know what Steins Gate is. On mine's is a social network, but Steins Gate,
I know what mine says.
a
Believe me.
TV series. I just searched
okay.
for it. It's Steins Gate. Looks like an anime.
Okay.
Anthony Estrada said, "The green neon lights behind Ian making his hair glow green. Make his hair glow green, making him look like radioactive.
crap, they
giving
do.
me Fallout vibes."
Look at that halo.
Love this show, guys.
We're gonna. I don't know if we're gonna want to get rid of that. We're gonna want everybody to have green radioactive
that's
vibes
awesome.
behind them.
That's cool.
From now on.
I didn't notice that yesterday.
Oh, I noticed it.
On Hannah Claire?
Yeah, I was like, the hair light's gonna be rough, but we're gonna get through it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like it.
you just gotta use hairspray and get those flyaways down.
Oh my never.
Sorry,
Look at
guests.
that. Look at that light. Look at that glow.
Waffles Sensei said, wait, where'd it go? Oh, how dare anyone defend Love and Thunder? Gore was the best. You mean Korg?
No, Gore
Oh,
the God
Gore.
Butcher. That's Christian Bale's character.
Was the best part, but killed no gods on screen. Thor's apparently just a stupid bimbo now. Also, why
Thank
does
you.
Natalie Portman transform? Steve Rogers didn't.
One thing that's interesting about that is I have noticed there's a distinct push to like not have violence on screen in these movies. They made a big deal when Hawkeye came out, the Hawkeye TV show. They're like, no bad guys die on
That
screen.
doesn't make any sense because Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness had all of this like almost dark comedy
Yeah.
level gore.
Yeah.
So, and I actually thought that wasn't like so bad.
Yeah.
I thought that was a plus for the movie.
That one didn't bother me, but I just noticed that Marvel was doing that when Hawkeye was coming out. They made a big deal on like the fun facts about the show. They're like, nobody died, and I don't know if that ends up being true. It does end up being true because Vincent D'Onofrio's character Kingpin doesn't, like, you think he dies, but I don't think he did. But they make a big deal that throughout most of the episodes, there's basically no real violence, and that goes to what me and Mary are talking a lot about. Is the reason you feel so disconnected from Marvel is there's no stakes to anything you watch, because the only characters that have passed away seem to be Tony and Steve Rogers, and everybody else just kind of, I mean, obviously, I know there's more than that. I'm giving an extreme example. But the idea is that it never feels like anything really bad will actually happen because it's so manufactured and safe because of what Marvel has become. So.
I also would push back against saying that Thor is just a stupid bimbo now.
Yeah, I got to know what. So you guys saw.
Does he mean Jane Foster?
No, I think he does mean Thor.
What would you guys rate?
Oh.
I didn't see it, Love and Thunder, but what would you give it on a scale from 1 to 10?
I was not there for that one. You were there for that one.
Yeah, I watched it. I would never watch it again. I feel bad when someone asks for me to rate a movie because I rate it on 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Like,
you're very binary.
Either hate or love it. Hated it.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Joseph said, "Are these writers inspired or making a buck?" I don't know.
I guess in reference to which one are we talking about? Thor? Or are we talking about Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones. I'm guessing that a lot of it had to do with set like studio notes given to them about style. Like he says, like he's like inspired to do it this way. I think when they're inspired to do it a certain way, what they mean is they got
inspired by someone else telling me to do
pocketbook.
it.
That's
this way.
Amazon's like, look, we're spending like
I was inspired by my investors.
Not Amazon, HBO, but like they're like, look, we've got a lot of money in this, and we've got these requirements that have to be met. You have to meet, and that's what I mean when I talk about why all of this feels so inauthentic and kind of bland. Is like when you see these things happen, the swaps of characters, this and that. It always, like, you can literally feel the studio note being handed to the director, who's like, we have to change this, we have to do this.
There are always like practical money making elements that maybe creatives don't always get.
Yeah,
but I don't even think that's it. It's that there are people who invest their wealth in using media to inundate people with messaging.
Yep.
That's just it. And they don't really care whether it's better for their bottom line. Waffle Sensei said, a black Targaryen, is that how you say it?
Yes.
Can exist, but he'd be a half Targaryen because that's a specific bloodline of people who use incest to keep their bloodline strong. Is this true?
Another thing is, like, think about how dark that story is, and then imagine having to apply modern day sensibilities about what a bunch of weirdos on Twitter think is acceptable, and then seeing your creativity just go out the window.
Yeah, they were pure blood. This is like
That's a big
Daenerys
aspect,
Targaryen. It's like they're really white skin and like really light hair. So they're inbred. Is that like the brother was a psychopath, like this crazy inbreed? The one that is he the one that got the gold poured on his head? These are the Targaryens.
I never watched Game of Thrones.
Oh, you should watch the first season. It's off the charts.
I don't know. I heard it's like highly explicit.
It is.
So
The first season for me, is, as somebody who has a really hard time.
I think that's really just cheap.
As somebody who has a really hard time with dialogue, like anything that sounds like old world or Shakespearean in the way the dialogue is, I understand that's not what that is, but it's not spoken with modern cadence. I have a hard time staying attached to stuff like that, and I love the first season of Game of Thrones.
Jason Momoa, I mean, it was just his breakout experience. He was so freaking good. He didn't even speak English in the series, and he was so good.
Bad Op said PCC is CCP backwards.
We have pointed that out, but to be fair, we don't know. I mean, that
really
could,
makes you say,
And Mary has a WeChat, so really,
I was
mean,
the one who pointed it out first.
The
Let
truth
it be
is
known.
right in your face.
Unknown said, "Love you, Ian. Stay golden, bro."
Yeah, dog.
Are you golden?
Yeah.
Gold Macro said, "Damn it, Ian, you irritate me so often, and then when I'm comfy in my annoyance, you pop out with some Forgotten Realms. Also, D&D still does racial bonuses."
That's what friends do to each other, dude. Oh, and you're right. I saw that super chat and I looked it up. D&D 5th edition does still do racial bonuses. So like a half orc still has a plus to their strength, but they got rid of racial negatives. Maybe that's what I was thinking about. I thought that they had nothing and you got to pick where the bonuses went. Maybe that's a different rule set. but they did get rid of
that
the
change
negatives.
is still stupid.
Yeah, because like an elf would have less constitution. They weren't as physically prowess. Like they could get sick easier. They got hurt easier because they were more frail. The orcs were stupider just in general because they were more like brute. But I liked it because it's fun to play a negative. You give your character a severe problem, and that's just as fun as having your character have a severe bonus, in my opinion.
Bad App said AMC is American Movies for China.
That is, I mean, I always forget
Galaxy
that
brain moment.
As somebody who hasn't, I don't know if the theater we go to the.
Well, I don't want to just name drop the theater we go to.
Well, I've mentioned on there before, but like,
Don't again.
AMC is one of those things where I think of AMC more as like a television network now than a theater, because of shows that are on there. So I forget sometimes that they're also a theater chain. Also, stonks. Hold.
Jonathan Harris said it. I missed the first part, but no orcs and dwarves still have their bonuses. What they changed in Tasha's Cauldron is that orcs no longer have default evil alignment.
There it is.
Oh, interesting. I love playing a dumb half orc. Like a really strong dumb guy. It's so fun.
Caper2X said, Ian, I'm happy you got yourself a lady friend.
Well, me too. Thank you very much.
Dizwiz said, I got +2 racial stats on SC and League of Legends. What's SC?
SC, well, League of Legends is obviously the MOBA. SC, StarCraft?
Oh, yeah. Waffle Sensei said, by the way, I'm in the process of writing a classic, beautiful, unwoke D&D campaign, specifically you guys, if you'd ever be interested in such a thing.
I'm always interested in D&D campaigns.
I think they got weird rules about pitches here now, right? Like
you know,
pitched.
Timcast doesn't take pitches because of legal implications. If you send something in, but then it doesn't ever get even seen, but if the company creates something similar to that later, then there's a problem where it'll be like, hey, that's my idea.
Gold Macro said, my rule for race switches is if you wouldn't make a black fantasy or historical figure white or other, then you shouldn't do the opposite. Explore new IPs and myths if you want diversity and exposure.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like
there's
such a
so
simple...
many cultures with mythology that you can draw upon as well, but they only want to draw upon certain cultures.
Lots of cool pagan stuff that hasn't been tapped yet.
I mean, even if you want to talk animated, like I thought Disney would Moana was so successful, and then they go back. What's up?
They also made Encanto and.
But those are that's more recent. Moana was a little bit before those. So they're doing it there, and those are new characters. That's a good thing. You don't we did
Crisis
it.
Party.
Welcome home.
We did it. Oh boy. Okay.
No one's got any money in my coffee yet.
No. Yep. You gotta have to shoot for the stars.
Keep spewing.
Caper2X said, "Marry our mean girl reviewer and darkness." I am not mean.
She is a realist. She might be a little bit harsh.
Okay, I'm mean.
She can be mean from time to time.
They also called me a mean girl intellectual. I like that.
In math, the mean is the average. So if you take the mean of a situation, so when people are really up, you bring it back.
Wow.
Well, you bring it towards the center. So like when people are excessively happy, you may find yourself bringing them back to normal. If they're very sad, you may find yourself bringing them up to.
That's totally what he meant.
Yeah. That's being mean.
Chase Gamwell said, found out about this show from Timcast and have been obsessed since. Y'all are the best. Would love y'all to watch my short film Soul Match. That sounds like a dating app.
That it does. Where would we find? We'd have to know where to find Soul Match.
Yeah. Send it to popculturecrisis@timcast.com. Mini Strange Quark said, Ian is the greatest actor of our times, a true conservative in liberal wool. Mary reminds me of an old girlfriend. Ooh. Brett is just Brett.
What is more insulting there?
That
Mary,
is mean.
What is more insulting? Mary reminds me of an old girlfriend. No, he didn't say ex or bad
he said
ex-girlfriend.
heart eyes emoji
okay, heart
after that.
I'm
so
just
maybe it was
me.
a good relationship.
Yes, I am just me. Okay, I at least you're not saying I'm someone
also
else.
Also wearing a chain around your
Brett
neck.
is extraordinary.
Yes.
At least you didn't say Brett is just a lump of coal.
Yeah.
That's better.
Jedi Mind Trick 75 said, chimed in last night on Timcast. Just wanted to drop some live love. Enjoying the show. You guys rock. Keep doing you.
Jedi Mind Trick.
Much.
It's all we know how to be, actually. I've tried to be other people. I can't figure it out.
Espresso Cough said, there's a satirical channel on Rumble called Corrective Prime. You should check it out. It's got a zombie Joe Biden.
I mean,
That's scarily close to reality.
given that video we watched last night, zombie Joe Biden isn't all that far off.
Which one was it last night?
Where he turns to shake someone's hand and there's no one there.
Did you see? Oh, I think it was Dave Landau that said he looked like Gary Oldman from what movie was that? I don't remember, but his face was all warped.
Jonathan Harris said, "Can we stop with race switching of characters and actually give us ones that exist, like Static Shock? Where's my Static Shock movie?"
Yeah, I get that people ask that one a lot because why don't they make, given how popular Static Shock was, Black Lightning, the TV show, is actually, the first season was actually pretty good. Afterwards, it just became very much a CW show. But thank you.
Thank you.
The actors in that show are actually really, really, Cress Williams, is Cress Williams? Really, really good actor, like really tall, fits the role, but it just got bogged down in the identity politics farther down the line. It was always going to happen given the way the climate of the country had gone, but that first season was actually really good.
Of what show?
It's called Black Lightning. It was on the CW.
Unavailable ID name said they need to be like Roddenberry, who invented the Klingon race because he wanted more African Americans on TV. Is that true?
Gene Roddenberry, right?
Roddenberry?
Maybe.
Roddenberry?
He was actually very progressive. The first interracial kiss on television
Yep.
was on Star Trek. It
Yes,
was
it
between
was.
Captain
When was
Kirk
that?
and it was like in the 50s. It was in the 60s, I think.
No way.
Yeah,
Another
find
reason
out.
to be annoyed whenever these people talk about how they're changing the world now, when people have been changing the world for like 80, like just imagine how long, like all the people who have actually broken barriers and they're talking about how they're doing all this stuff for the first time now. It's like this whole generation of whether it's late millennials and Gen Z, they feel like the argument that I was always told, it's like, look, millennials legalized gay marriage, and that was like the last great big civil rights battle that we had as a country, right? We legalized gay marriage, and like Gen Z is like, we want to change the world too, and there's like, but there's nothing really in the pipeline, so now they're just making stuff up to change the world with, and that's how it's happening on TV. They're like, it's the first so and so of this to do this and this, and they have to come up with like a weird non-record.
I don't know. I think all of those cultural milestone moments are kind of fabricated regardless of when they happened.
Okay.
Every generation kind
I
of
think
wants to feel like they're the ones
The ones-
revolutionizing the world.
Yeah, like you want to, like you see people in the past that change stuff and they're elevated to greatness, so you want to also change, but sometimes you want to keep something stable instead of change it.
All right.
Oh,
Good
just
balance.
to point it out, it's the episode of Star Trek is called Plato's Stepchildren, season 3, episode 10, 1968, where Uhura and Captain Kirk kiss on
Perfect.
screen.
There's one more, and
Bad
then
App
we'll move on.
said, "Mary is so fetch."
Perfect.
Love that.
And with that, we are going to move on, and we are going to talk about Hollywood and people behind the scenes starving their reality TV show performers. So it says, Love is Blind cast member sues the show claiming contestants were denied food and water.
That's such an exaggeration, though. Like,
It's-
denied it is more than, like, we just didn't have enough.
So it says, Love is Blind contestants were deprived of adequate amounts of food and water and plied with alcohol. The alcohol is way more creepy.
Yeah, that's the point.
That basically the idea here is like, prevent them from drinking enough water, prevent them from eating enough food, make them drink more alcohol. They'll make more awful decisions.
But look, like, this is my take. Before we even explain the situation.
It's my take.
Like, that's the point of a reality show, is that you're in a situation that's vastly different from normal life.
Yeah.
And you're making decisions under extreme pressure and, like, weird social circumstances they've, like, created.
And it's kind of funny. It's like the idea is like an actor would be able to make this work without the alcohol,
Yeah.
but because they're not actors, because it's supposed to be reality, but it's not really reality, they have to augment it by using chemicals. And even actors use chemicals. You know, there's plenty of actors who have talked about how they had to use stuff in their day to get where they needed to be during a performance.
I tried it in LA for a while in the 2008-9. I was like, what if I just got stoned before I acted? And I found all my acting was like I couldn't get out of this level. Everything kind of felt like it was at the
Monotone?
same monotone. It was getting that out of my system is when it starts to get
Yeah.
much more variety.
Because the drugs mask it provides a neutral, not neutral, but like a baseline that keeps you there for as long as the chemicals in your system. Therefore, you're not accessing the emotions that the average person would be, especially if you're trying to manufacture a realistic, real-world experience.
Yeah, a lot of acting that resonates with people is the stress of acting. Like, people can feel your anxiety, and that's good. Although you might think it's hindering you as an actor, it's actually people are going to be able to resonate with the reality.
Yeah. I've talked at length about, like, one of the things that always feels off to me in television shows is when people have, like, spontaneous moments or confessions to people where they tell them, like, oh, I really care about you, to a friend, like, in a moment that's not heightened, where it's just like people really connecting. As real as that may be in like a heightened situation, I always imagine like doing that in the real world, and you don't really do that. People tend to be more awkward or more closed off than that. Mm-hmm. So it's like when you're watching it, it makes you emote as you're watching it, and you really feel what you're seeing there, but you realize that's not what the real world is when you're watching it.
What's an example?
I would have to think.
What
more.
specifically? So you're saying when like two guys are like, "I love you, man," and they hug?
But a lot of times it's just general conversations that people have.
That's just what it takes to dramatize. TV shows
when they're really connecting in a way that's supposed to be highly emotive. It never comes off as authentic, but it does come off as entertaining. Mm-hmm. That's fun.
The music swells. There's no music swelling in real life when we're
Wouldn't
like,
that be
I love
nice?
you, man.
Like, I love you, man. Then you like hit your
and
iPod
and turns on.
You turn your phone on as you go to hug them so that the music plays behind you.
You hear, like,
in the case of Love is Blind, which I have watched like multiple seasons.
Oh my gosh.
I'll admit.
You have.
I didn't tell you that because I wanted to reveal it on air.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Dane will be very happy to hear that there is a reality TV show that you do watch that's not just Survivor.
Well, I watched Love Island too, and it's kind of like a similar situation where you have to like pair up to stay on the show. And Love is Blind, the premise is basically that you have to marry a person that you've never seen and you've only talked to them through a screen.
You would need alcohol and, and augmented judgment to be able to do that.
In many of those scenes where they're talking to each other, through this divider, that you see a glass of wine in their hand or whatever, like, of course.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of an expected thing. So I was kind of surprised that this guy didn't foresee this, or he thought it was unfair because, like, you're certainly not forced to drink.
So they don't make you drink,
yeah.
but they're like, hey, but you can.
They provide alcohol if
water.
you're so pleased to have it.
We can't give you water, but how about a glass of wine?
That's what they did in the Middle Ages because the water was tainted. They couldn't get clean water, so they drank ale.
Oh yeah, and they also mixed wine with water a lot in antiquity.
I knew a kid who would he never liked to mix his whiskey, but he liked to drink it straight, but he didn't like it straight either. So he'd put water. He'd literally water it down.
I'm talking
I was
about.
like, that should be punishable by law.
Turn water to wine.
Gross.
I think that's when they said Jesus turned water to wine, that he was just watering it down and then giving it to everybody. Like, there's 100 people. Well, then I'll took one glass of wine, I'll put water in it and give it to 2 people. Put water in both of theirs, give it to 4 people. Water in all of theirs, give it to 8 people. And he was able to give everybody a little bit.
There you go.
Disagree.
Yeah. Who knows?
Debate.
No, we won't.
Okay.
This is the channel for it.
Totally, the right time and place.
Yes, for theological. Yeah, we should do
Yes.
that.
Anyways, Love is Blind. This guy, Jeremy, said being on the show left him sleep deprived, socially isolated, and mentally drained. And he had only what he can describe as an out-of-body experience. He said, I would hear myself saying things that were contrary to what I was thinking at the time. After the production, I felt and looked like a zombie for days.
You want to think
you
about,
went
like,
on a reality show where you have to marry someone after a week.
I'm picturing the CIA like, yes, we could learn from this.
He got taken off the show because he didn't find someone to marry
They
after
actually
1
have
week.
to, like, legally get married?
Yes. And, like,
Dude.
people follow these people after the show is over, after that season is over, and see whether they stay together. They are legal marriages. So they get legal divorces a lot, obviously.
I'm literally picturing the CIA like looking for tips on like how to manipulate people.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny how often it works out for them, though.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, like,
How-
not most, but definitely at least 1 or 2
Do you think that
couples
there's like
per season.
cynically? Do you think that there's like Like, did they get like a bonus for staying married together for a certain period of time?
Oh, I hope so.
You think
Maybe. I mean,
there's
they get
financial
social media followings, and then they get money from that.
It's a business. It's a
too.
business. I mean, this is one of those things. Whenever we talk about, I mean, I don't really care about the Kardashians, but people love talking about the Kardashians in the shows. Like, I wonder if Pete Davidson is going to be on the Kardashians. Like, it's not real, right? The fact that he has to sign a contract just before entering that place proves to you how fake it is.
Well, I'm sure they do script a lot, but not everything.
But beyond that, I mean, just even here, even when doing the vlog, or when it was more daily stuff, when you're just experiencing, your perception and your behavior does change ever so. A good actor maybe ever so slightly, but the average person, their behavior changes when there's a camera on.
You got to. I mean, otherwise your back is turned to the camera and you're talking real quiet, and the camera can't pick it up. So you got to be aware that there's a camera. You're always working with the camera in some way,
and you have to elevate your voice.
But I think, like, for instance, our vlog is a lot more transparently scripted, or not just real life events.
But before,
whereas with a reality show, it's the point of it is to kind of make you buy into it.
Yeah.
And this doesn't make sense to me, because, like, I, after reading this article, would totally go on Love is Blind.
Oh,
like,
I bet.
it does not sound bad at all. I get paid $1,000 a week to just sit around and, like, chat with strangers through a screen and drink wine.
Well, he
that
talks-
sounds fun.
Do they meet, or is it all?
They meet if they decide to get married. Like, they meet the first time that, like, the dude proposes.
Wow.
They like get the screens, like, lifted, and then they walk towards each other, and then he proposes.
Oh my god.
The only drinks that defendants regularly provided to the cast were alcoholic beverages, soft drinks, energy drinks, and mixers. Hydrating drinks such as water were strictly limited but into the cast during the day. So, I mean, the strictly limited part is kind of
That
nefarious.
sounds a little weird. I
That,
don't
like,
know.
saying, like, yes, you can have water as long as you have it between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And it says...
Also, like, I hate to point out the obvious, but you have, like, sinks around there, like a faucet where you can just get a cup and fill it with water.
no cups were provided. You had to put your face under the sink, and yeah. So the combination of sleep deprivation, isolation, lack of food, and excess of alcohol, all either required, enabled, or encouraged by defendants, contributed to inhumane working conditions.
This sounds like a vacation.
Otherwise, a weekend at the Jersey Shore.
Right?
Which
This is also just representative of how all underpaid to sit around drinking alcohol and making drama.
Yep.
That's what it is.
especially
Love Island.
they canceled the Jersey Shore reboot.
No, why?
Well, the stars were basically they felt like they were being taken advantage of. They've got high
Probably
profile. They've got high profiles now. You can't bring in people who made their names everybody's heard the name Snooki, even if you
JWoww.
I don't remember JWoww.
Mike,
but
the Situation.
the Situation I remember, but it's really funny. Somebody posted a picture of him that said, "Isn't it funny how all the women have updated their styles and the men all look exactly the same?"
I love it.
Because the men grew into their hair because that haircut is now semi-popular, or at least was a couple of years ago. So the men all
who was the other ones? It was like Joe the Unit, or who was the Unit?
the Situation's the only one I
remember
remember.
the Situation.
I had that up here. I wonder if it's
Johnny the Unit.
Johnny the Unit.
Manfred.
yeah. So they canceled Jersey Shore season 2. So I guess we're gonna have to go back
What
to
a
Love
tragedy.
Hopefully,
more naked and afraid.
Question: would either of you go on Love Is Blind?
Not at this stage of my life. There was a time when I thought about doing reality TV. People asked me,
That would've been
do you
so
want to do
funny.
porn? When I got to LA the first week, I was at the grocery store and the guy was like, you ever do porn? You want to do porn? I was
Just
like, I don't
casually
think so.
asking. Yeah.
But it was kind of scandalous 2007 how it started to come out that reality TV was fake. We kind of knew Big Brother and Survivor.
Rules.
They were all that they
Road
were
Rules?
that they would tell them, but I remember it, but I never watched it.
long time ago.
And then it was what? The producers tell them to say certain things? This is incredible. Who knew? And then I was
Like
like,
the
well, I'm
OC.
never doing it now if I
the
now
OC
that I know
was
that.
not a reality TV
But I
show,
thought about turning my life into a reality show at one point.
Oh, what was I thinking of?
You could have a Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
Yes, you could have a fantastic reality TV.
Yeah,
show.
but it would just be me playing video games, and I was like, it's not that interesting. I'm not gonna.
Everyone
sell out.
thinks their life is that interesting until you actually do
No,
like
you're actually an actor, and Ian is just a role that you play.
Come on, people don't know that.
So it says, unfortunately for Mr. Hartwell, his journey ended early after he failed to develop a significant connection with any other participant. Maybe he's just
Sounds
mad.
like he's just bitter.
He's bitter.
Yeah.
He's like, I got all this
At
alcohol
least
in me.
that is totally what they were trying to imply. Like, he's just suing us because he didn't find a date. That is the tone of their statement.
Defendants were encouraged to consume alcohol throughout the entire day and were plied with an unlimited amount of alcohol without meaningful or regular access to appropriate food and water to moderate their inevitable drunkenness. It feels like there's like OSHA violations just waiting to be had.
Well,
in here.
they mentioned like that reality shows abuse their ability to say that their contestants are independent contractors.
Yep.
But like I don't know how that works. Is that actually fraudulent?
I don't know. I mean,
Because they're certainly not like normal salaried workers.
WWE is the same way. They're all under all the wrestlers are under contract, but they're all considered independent contractors, so they have to pay their own health insurance.
Oh, wow.
It's really funny.
They also said that the contestants were under extreme pressure to stay on the show and not breach contract because they would have to pay, according to their contract, $50,000 in liquidated damages.
And Mary's just like, I'm being forced to sit here and drink wine and talk to people. What will I do?
Whatever shall I do?
Were they like in their own houses, just like video chatting from
No,
afar?
they had a hotel room. All of the contestants had a hotel room, and they also allegedly had their key cards taken away.
Oh my gosh.
So that they couldn't get sufficient sleep.
I wonder if it was in the contract before they signed up, any of that stuff.
It must have been, right?
It would have to be.
Like you're not going to get access
But
to
they
this
said
and that.
he alleges the contestants were paid a flat rate of $1,000 per week while forced to work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, which totals to roughly $7.14 an hour, which is far below the $15 minimum wage required in the state of California.
But they're contractors, so. But
Yeah,
I don't know if that matters.
I don't know. Well, it couldn't be California, right? Because California has that independent contractor rule for companies.
Yeah, I think so.
So I wouldn't want to work for. I would never go on. I can barely. I have to like prime myself up to be me, let alone drunk me.
But some people would think it removes a lot of pressure to have the screen in between you.
But I also can't drink alcohol, so I wouldn't be allowed to be on the show.
Well, you could. You just wouldn't have anything to drink.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
They're acting
A dry
like they're
fast.
forced to drink.
Yeah, okay, you're not forced to drink. Okay,
You're also not forced to like drink too much either. It sounds like this guy just said
Stress.
things that embarrassed him because he was drunk.
Super chats.
Let's get into
Let's
it.
get into it.
Bad App said, I don't think my father, the inventor of the toaster strudel, would be too pleased about this. If you know, you know.
Go up a little bit farther. There's one from Jim. There's a couple from
Oh,
Jimbo. There's
Jimbo.
Jimbo up there.
Said, I feel like Ian would be a warlock or druid. He uses graphene to summon a magnetic vibration elemental or something.
Druid, dude. And when I played World of Warcraft, I was drawn to the druid.
Perfect.
I played a druid.
Caper2X said, really, did they ever see Naked and Afraid?
I never saw. Naked
I love that
I
show.
didn't.
That's a good one. Although I think there is some fakeness, but it's two people, usually a guy and a girl, get dropped into like the jungle naked, and they each get a tool of some sort. Like the girl will have some twine, and the guy will have like a box cutter, and then they'll have to get out of the jungle together.
There's the great meme of like it's like a guy surviving. It's like a guy starving from on a reality TV show, and then it's got a cameraman eating a sandwich.
That'd be great, like a show called Starvation. And it's
A
just
lot of
person
the
in a
stress
room
of
not
being on
eating.
something like Survivor is removed when you can literally quit anytime you want.
I have a friend that won Survivor one year. Judd Burza.
Oh,
He was
cool.
Fabio. Was this character on Survivor?
You need to tell
does
Dane
Dane
about
know
this
this?
because he will
I think he
fanboy.
might. I'll tell him again if
Dane loves
Dane.
He's
Survivor.
obsessed with
Yeah,
it.
Judd's awesome. He'd be a great guest on the show someday too. If you ever
Judd.
want to come out,
We could have him talk about whether they plied him with alcohol and tried to get him to get hitched on air.
Moongoon7 said, I love Ian. Rolling 20s all day on here and on IRL.
Holla
Yes.
back. Holla back.
Gold Mecro said, all the fake milestones and stuff.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Diversity stuff is still millennials. Even gay rights, millennials just tagged on to the end of a pre-existing movement. We've accomplished very little as a generation.
Man, I
Think
watched
so?
a
Don't
really
be too hard on yourself, my man.
I watched a really great video the other day about
Thank you.
why Gen X is so awesome, and it's basically like because we didn't give a crap, and we're like Gen X is just very like they just exist.
Gen X
and
is kind of a flyover.
I love Gen X.
generation.
Yeah, I'm the last year of X.
Is it 79?
79.
My brother was born in 79.
We didn't
so-
have the internet, which was a big part of it. When I was like 9, there was no internet. I'd have to ride my bike to the video arcade to play Street Fighter 2 on the arcade machine. I have to be back by 6:30 or I'm going to get grounded. There's no phones. Like,
How quaint.
I mean, most of my childhood was like that too, but that's because we were poor.
so you had to kind of find things to get creative. We used to play a game called Adventure, me and Max, my brother, where I'd be like, look out, they're coming. And we'd like run and we'd dive and pretend like stuff was happening, which I think is some of it's that maybe not completely lost on like people nowadays because you have access to entertainment at all times. You don't need to pretend anymore. It's there for you. You have games, you have movies. So we had to make it up. Now I'm still making it up.
I
That was a
definitely
creative-
was looking at screens too often as a kid, but also like the internet wasn't the same as it is now, and
Yeah.
tablets weren't around until I was like 8, 9, 10.
You're so young.
But the X also got the internet when we were like 10 and 12, so we got the awesomeness of it too. So we're not totally oblivious like a lot of people
Early
in their
internet,
70s
too.
are kind of like, what's happening in reality right now? I don't understand. You're
How
like,
do I
well,
log into that internet?
Yeah, what is video code?
Bad App said, I'd couple up with Brett on Love Island.
That would have to be a very special episode.
I enjoy Love Island because the narrator is just extremely Scottish and you can barely understand what they're saying.
There was when we saw Uncharted, there was the character that was like Irish or Scottish, and the whole joke was that you couldn't understand what he was saying. Super mean, like Tom Holland's like the guy's talking, and Tom Holland's like, "What? I literally have no idea what you're talking about."
What show?
It was the Uncharted movie, the movie about the game Uncharted.
Okay.
Caper2X said, remember this, you can last 3 days without water and 21 days without food. These whiners are pickers. Wait, Mary watches reality TV? Say it's not so, Brett.
Say it so.
Say it no so?
I buy it.
Well,
buy it.
I think I have admitted that to you before.
I mean,
right?
you are obsessed with the early 2000s, and what
the
was
early
more early 2000s than
and
reality
drama.
TV?
Low stakes drama.
What's your favorite reality show of all time?
Catfish was really good.
Oh my god! Of course.
I don't know. I mean, Project Runway was also really good back in the day.
It sure was. I used to watch that in like
So good.
2007. That era.
Yes.
That was a great show.
We probably watched the same.
I learned a lot about design. That was one of the coolest things. Is you
Yeah.
can learn a lot from watching, especially the competition ones. I was a big fan of like Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, I loved Hell's Kitchen too. Like reality TV has really fallen off, I think.
There's just
like-
too much of it.
It's
now.
a lot about the host. If the host is a really smart, like compassionate person, then they get like Joe Rogan's Fear Factor.
I was
a
say,
big
have you
fan
ever
of Fear
heard
Factor.
Rogan talk about Fear Factor? It's hilarious.
It's so funny,
Yeah.
but he was really inspirational, and he would give people confidence. People in their most afraid moments, he'd be like, "You can do it," and then they would do it, and you're like, "Wow, that's
We need more Joes.
We need
Motivational.
dynamic hosts.
All right.
Visceral Visuals said Soul Match is on our channel. We produced it with Chase Gamwell, and yes, it is a dating app, but not
Oh.
just any dating app.
Okay.
That's interesting. I actually was
Thank you.
just seeing maybe I'm like exposing myself as being an internet stalker, but I was looking at Brett Cooper's following list, and one of them is a dating app, and it might I don't know if
Wait.
it was this one or a different one.
Wait, her like who follows her or who she follows? It's always
follows?
more interesting like who you can when you look at who they follow.
It's who she follows, and it didn't have many followers yet, the dating app account, but
Maybe
Maybe-
she's investing in it.
I don't remember the name now. If it was this one, that's
Stalking
interesting.
Brett, was that after me and you were talking about her on Michaela Peterson?
Must have been.
Yeah.
I want to see like all of the accounts she follows. Bad App said, I don't. Oh wait, no, I read that one.
Yep.
Um,
I didn't get the reference. Was that a reference?
yeah, it was a reference to Mean Girls. Did you
Okay.
watch it?
Not in a long time.
good movie."
Bad App said, Ian looks like he'd be on Naked and Afraid.
Yeah, it'd be funny. There was a
Is
guy.
that true?
Was it Naked and Afraid? Yeah, there was a guy in Naked and Afraid that reminded me of myself. He didn't eat animals. He would only eat or he ate bugs and stuff. But
What?
he like exerted very little energy and consumed very little, so people liked him because he didn't
would
like.
just sit around.
Yeah, I
eating
think he would do
bugs.
he'd carve wood and make fires and stuff. He was very worked at the camp. He didn't go out and do stuff.
Could've
Yeah,
done
he's
that
not
earlier.
a drain on resources.
Right,
that
exactly.
way. I
Mary-
see what you mean.
Mary was there was a wasp up here earlier that made that
was like,
Mary ran very fast out the studio until Andrew came up and took care of it.
Those insects sense your fear.
Yep.
They also smell if you have food on your shirt and they'll land on it. But don't be afraid. They're just looking for food.
They're just looking for
I
food.
hope I don't have any.
Yeah.
Caleb Sherd said, all my favorite Timcast people on one podcast. This is awesome. Love your opinions on Timcast, Ian.
Oh, Caleb, nice. Love you, man.
Bobby said, I miss Survivor Man. Just Les Stroud and a camera. I think he had a Bigfoot encounter once or twice. No script, just nature.
Do you guys watch the any of like the ghost hunting shows?
Only like I catch them in the peripheral.
Yeah, I've lately, as somebody who loves movies, loves television, loves certain genres, have found myself pushing away from it and going into more like HGTV and or like historical, like the castles of Britain and stuff like that. Literally something where I can put it on.
It's
and
like lo-fi. But
I remember
documentary.
nothing of what I'm watching. I just know that I feel very calm when I watch it, and that's what it's all about.
I would like a realistic ghost hunting movie, like where you get these. I was talking to Jeremy Riss, the alien scientist. He's got a YouTube channel. He's a brilliant man, and he was talking about like military grade technology you can use to scour the EM band of like frequency to actually try and triangulate like disruptions in the field and stuff. That'd be cool.
That'd
to
be
get
cool.
Some super sensitive materials.
Get some stuff with Shane Cashman and
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
into. I mean, there's money to be made there, my friends.
It's challenging. There's a lot of interference, but if you could somehow isolate vibration on like a local level and see if like the walls actually are making sounds of some sort.
It'd be so much fun.
Interesting.
One more.
Jimbo said, y'all need to talk Tim into funding a Love is Blind with DMT instead of wine.
In ayahuasca.
And I don't know if that would work because
Love in the
people would
jungle.
kind of just be in their own world.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
All right, let's move on. Let's do families in Hollywood. Mary, you wanna lead this one?
Sure. So I saw Nick Cannon trending, and I think a lot of people have defended him in having 7 children with 4 different women. Mainly because they think, well, at least you don't hate children like the rest of the celebrity class,
like
right?
Hollywood, who like literally. I pointed out last night on IRL. I said it's weird how like Hollywood isn't just like pro-abortion. They're like elevating abortion to like the level of poetry and talking about it like it's this really great thing for humanity, which is like.
Like
you
it
have
changed my life.
Yeah, like it's always like the all the like Hollywood women shared their abortion stories. I'm like, I'm going to rewrite this article. Hollywood women share their story of killing unborn child. Doesn't quite have the same punch and tone to it, but it gives you an idea of what Hollywood feels of family, which is inconvenience to career.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people have felt favorably toward Nick Cannon and Elon Musk, who kind of have a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing about how
we're not aborting anything.
they have huge amounts of offspring compared to the rest of the celebrity class. And the problem with it is it doesn't reflect the values of any ordinary families.
Not that anybody with like regular income would be able to afford.
And also it doesn't reflect the families of monogamous married people.
Yeah.
He has 4 different baby mamas. Elon Musk has how many? Counting unknown.
A lot of.
Amber Heard possibly being one of them.
That is Hannah Claire's pet theory is that Amber Heard's child was
I don't think it's unlikely.
It's not
just say
unlikely.
that.
Yeah. Otherwise, who is it?
Yeah. And also they use surrogate wombs very often instead of just like traditional methods of reproduction.
So they can still have a career.
Like they don't have to widen their hips and show that post-pregnancy body.
Right.
Yeah, the young, fertile, nubile body is definitely something Hollywood producers look for, which is,
and
disgusting in its own right, but I understand it.
Long before what we're seeing now, magazines would be like, they would celebrate every time a woman would have kids and then get her body back to regular shape. There would be the articles and the magazine covers. As somebody who doesn't read those magazines but would see them in shelves, it's like, look at Angelina Jolie after her however many.
Yeah, because they get a C-section that is paired with a tummy tuck.
I've heard that fasting can help too. Like a lot of times the skin stretches out when the hips widen, getting ready to give birth. But if you go into fasting after that, the body will digest the skin and it'll go back to normal size, as opposed to just dietary changes in general.
I mean, I wouldn't say pregnant women should
No,
should
after.
fast.
Like as
but also, if
post-pregnancy,
you're nursing,
post-birth.
you can't fast either.
Yeah, it'd be after. It's once you want to get the body back in shape.
And
Well, you can intermittent fast.
See-
Not like a daily.
And then,
Yeah.
so the idea here is like they're looking at all this and they're thinking like, well, this is all just a drain on my ability to be a professional in my
Right.
field. They don't.
And
think
we've
of it
talked
as
about
the joy
that
it-
before, and why celebrities are so favorable towards using surrogates instead of giving birth themselves. But I think this interested me more, and paired with Khloe Kardashian's new surrogate baby with her ex Tristan Thompson, who has publicly cheated on her many times, by the way, because these are people who appear to have very pro-family attitudes while not reflecting those in their
Thank you.
actual lifestyle.
Because a man can impregnate a woman 10 times. It doesn't mean he's a good dad or has a good family. Like, he could have totally
Yeah.
abused the kids. It doesn't matter how many you have.
or just even beyond that extent of an extreme, just be absent
it seems
parents.
very clinical to only like surgically implant your child in a woman.
When you're talking about surrogate, is that what's happening? They're taking the egg out of the woman, implanting it in another woman, and then impregnating it that way?
Yeah.
With like a...
It just seems very clinical. It also seems exploitative of the surrogate moms who are rarely paid enough.
Oh.
Because there's laws in place for
Yeah.
how it has to be done. It's not like she can just show up at somebody's house and be like, I would like to be your surrogate.
Usually the agencies that pair them with a
more
surrogate
money.
make far more money than the surrogate themselves makes.
That's rough.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like the Nick Cannon situation, now they're saying that he is getting engaged again. I could be a PR move for a music video.
It's a
they're saying
fantastic photo of him though in the Daily Mail article.
I mean,
though,
it all looks so happy and
Yes.
cheery, but I think there's something darker happening behind the scenes. He also said that it's safe to bet he'll have at least 3 more children this year.
Are you looking at that Nick Cannon picture with him with the 4 kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that top kid, the one with the big frizzy hair, does not have happy eyes. That's where, like, it's like this.
Yeah.
Like, you ever see those smiles where, like, the eyes look sad, but, like, the
I
jaw
understand
is
what you're
tense?
saying.
That's not a happy smile. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know what the kid's thinking, but
Yeah.
at a glance, that doesn't...
Oh, second
Thank
crisis
you.
party.
He doesn't have the
Crisis
blistering
party.
joy oozing out of his eyes like I like
No.
to see in kids.
But you got to be careful. You have to be very careful to like overanalyze photos.
picture, yeah.
Like we talked about that last night because there was the photo of Donald Trump having his like hands on the shoulders
you.
of I don't remember if it was.
It was a
Ivanka.
picture of him and Ivanka when she was like 8 years old, and people post it all the time being like, wow, they're incestuous. And it's literally just him holding her shoulders.
Yes.
Almost got one in my coffee.
Close.
Almost.
Close.
You missed.
You have to be careful to overanalyze. Like that's a trope they use in
good point.
TV a lot. Like they use that like they're like it's like the dad was abusive. Look at and then they show a picture of the family. It's like the mom and the 3 kids are all really close and the dad's like sitting over here.
Well, okay.
And it's like
Here's the situation. Like, a lot of families are messy, and these days there are so many broken families. And I understand that is not anyone's intention. You know, almost no one gets married with the intention to divorce, right? But in a situation like this and that of Khloe Kardashian, and all of the Kardashians actually, it seems like they're very enthusiastic about having offspring without committing to a relationship with the person involved. Like the Kardashians love having babies and they hate keeping men around.
This is a good point. We talk a lot about, at least on IRL, we talk a lot about reproduction, having babies, not having enough children. We need more humans. We need more population. But just more is not the answer. Better. We need better children. But we do need, you can't have 0 children and have better children. You have to have at least one.
we need better home lives.
Non-neglected children.
Yeah, then we need better home lives.
Yeah. And I just think like the Kardashians are guilty of kind of projecting the appearance of being very pro-family. But you are like not allowed to be a man in that family.
No, you're not.
Basically, like you have to adapt to their attitudes.
Think Pete ends up having a kid with Kim?
He literally was just talking
about
about
it?
that, and I found it so disturbing that he was like saying, "I'm excited to be a dad." Like, unlikely that it will be with Kim, I guess.
Think he'll end up having kids later with somebody closer to his age?
Unless Kim has frozen her eggs.
Possible.
Probably has, right?
Possible. So, so
scary.
what do they do then? Like, is there are examples of good parents in Hollywood, mostly the ones
Sure.
who move their kids out of
The
Hollywood.
ones who actively
Yeah.
discourage their children
Yeah.
from being involved in that industry,
Oh,
especially.
Even yesterday we were talking about Chet Hanks, and he said like, look, my parents were like, my dad didn't just give me everything. He says like, if I wanted to go out with my friends, I had to. He's like, my dad's like, you want money? Wash my car. Like he had to earn. He wasn't
That's the way.
He wasn't just given everything he wanted, and then he saw the way it spoiled his friends were like that. So, and I don't think Tom Hanks is a good person. I know he's on
No.
the Epstein flight logs, right? I believe he's on the
Yeah.
Epstein flight logs.
Tom, what did
Then
you
there's
do?
also that video that came out recently of him like cursing out all of those paparazzi.
Who like because his wife tripped on like the side of a
and
stair.
he like instantly accused them of pushing her, which did not happen.
She like tripped on a crack in the ground.
Yeah.
But there was like people pushing in too close.
What was he
and-
saying? He was like, F off.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is, and then Chet goes, "I didn't have a strong male role model in
Yeah,
my house,
like-
so
I didn't know who
It's
Chet.
brutally honest.
I didn't know who he was until yesterday. Chet.
Oh.
I didn't even know that he existed. I thought Colin was the only son.
because I am a Chet Hanks stan."
How did
Which
you
is-
find out about Chet Hanks?
from
Brett.
me?
Yeah,
Oh,
and I was
on
like,
IRL?
Hanks with an X? Is that Tom's kid? That's awesome.
I love it.
I was spreading. I kind
You
of
spread the
pushed.
Chet Hanks
I
gospel.
kind of pushed pop culture crisis. I really pushed the Chet
Oh,
Hanks
yeah.
crisis.
I think not knowing who he was actually may be a benefit. I look at these kids, parents that are putting pictures of their kids on Instagram and stuff, and like I see the baby when it's 6 months. In a way, you're like, yes, let's celebrate the baby. Let's enhance its beauty by loving it and praying for it. But in another way, it's kind of exploitative. The baby didn't sign on for this and doesn't looking back.
that is the image of a person who's going to be grown up one day and maybe doesn't like the fact that that's all public now.
Oh my gosh, if all the things I said as a 5 and 6 year old were on TV, I'd be devastated. I did crazy stuff like sexual exploration and like you're a little kid, you're trying to figure out what life is,
Yeah.
you know, touching your body and crazy stuff.
the what is it Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion? Which is one of them is like
Gave
post-
their child $50,000.
No, has like
cash?
a kid with a lot of that they post a lot of pictures of on social media, and then they took him down.
I don't
because,
think Megan Thee Stallion has a child.
Okay, then it was probably Cardi B, and then
Yeah.
people were like insulting her child, so she stopped posting pictures.
Right, but you like opened up your child to that type
world.
of hate.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is real. It seems like kids that are on social media become more beautiful physically, but I think that they may tend towards getting more deranged psychologically because they're the exposure, the unwitting exposure. Could be wrong. Doesn't maybe unwitting exposure doesn't
It's
always
definitely
lead towards
causing them to
derangement.
grow up too fast.
I posted a meme the other day that said like it's like a psychologist blaming social media for all of the mental illness and problems in society today, and then somebody says like let's not forget to give a hand to our public school system. But I do believe that
And
social
the
media,
pharmaceutical system.
yeah,
There
I do.
are a lot of systems.
Yes, but I do believe that social media is a large part of that. Like that guy I was talking about who made that video about what made Gen X special. He goes, social media destroyed all y'all's lives. Like you're going insane and you're kind of doing it yourself. If you turned off your phone and didn't look at Instagram, didn't look at TikTok, didn't look at any of these sites, would the world feel any different to you? Going to work, going to the store, going out with your friends and drinking a beer on a Friday night, would you really feel as if the world had changed that much?
No,
I don't
it's
know. I
looking
don't
through
think
the
I would.
portal of social media that I start to think about what else is happening in reality.
The movies might reflect aspects of what's changed in the world. Sports teams, maybe weird ESPN drawing attention to like racial injustice when that has nothing to do with sports might give you a hint to it. But in general, if you weren't looking at it on an Instagram feed or a Facebook wall or a TikTok timeline, would you really know that the world had felt as insane as it did? I don't think you would.
I was playing Heroes of the Storm online, and I'm thinking, like, what if I went into school as a 12-year-old and people that I did at the school were like, hey, Crossland, I saw what you did last night on the internet, and I'd be like, oh, how do I deal with this insane? Everyone knows everything I did now.
Yeah.
Nothing like that for me growing up.
Yeah.
It was
Thank
nothing.
you.
Everything you did at home was completely isolated from everything that went on at school, unless you wanted to.
It also gave a
bridge.
sense of safety.
Yeah.
in your
Yeah,
life
you
and,
could
like,
experiment with weird ideas and behaviors in your own private time, and even with your friends and stuff, and no one was going to blast it out in the middle of class on their cell phone.
And that's how, like, I do have more sympathy than I used to for the concept of, like, cyberbullying. Like, when I'm like, just turn it off. Just don't.
Sure.
Like, in school, that stuff's evil because you can't get away from it in school. It's going to come. Somebody's going to come up and show it to you on your phone.
And the fact that, like, every time there's a big fight at a school now,
Yeah.
it's posted on Twitter.
somebody says something negative about me online, I can just not read it. It's not going to affect my life.
Yeah,
but like in school, when you're younger, and your social groups are that interconnected that way, there's nothing you can do about
I
it.
heard that someone was saying that in the middle of class, someone will hold up a phone and show the entire class something humiliating about you.
Oh, that's
In the middle of class. Oh,
evil, man.
jeez.
Evil.
Yeah.
Brutal bull. That's
to
a
return
psychological.
to, like,
Back to what we were talking about
Yeah.
about screwed up celebrity
the-
families.
the public facing families. I'm just seeing, like, Tristan Thompson is, like, partying in Mykonos while his baby is on the way.
Yeah.
And I see, like, we're prizing reproduction without consequences, and when we need
Does it feel like reproduction without love? In a
sure,
way?
totally.
Like,
And like something else is that, like, monogamy is not prized
No,
by
it's
these
not.
people at all.
No.
It's just using people as a means to an end, which, I mean, a lot of people are saying that Nick Cannon is narcissistic and he's multiplying himself, the image of himself, by having all of these children
I think he's also
in a
super
self-serving
racist.
way.
Good way to put it. The image of
You do?
himself.
I think he's also super racist.
Really?
Yeah, he's like he had like a bunch of like during the George Floyd riots, like weird black supremacist.
I didn't pay
rants.
attention to
Yeah.
that.
I like how you phrased it and then rephrased it. He's reproducing himself, but then you rephrased it and said the image of himself. Because
Yes.
kids, they might look like you, but if you
Yeah.
don't raise them, if you're not there for them, they're not going to be anything like you.
Nope.
Yeah.
You got to be, and if you're there, if you're raising someone else's kid, they're going to be like you.
Yep.
So
Well, that's
like,
why public school system's so dangerous because like if people don't realize what's being taught to their kids and the values that are being instilled into their children in school, your teachers are spending more time. The teachers are spending more time with your children than you are.
it's also why being step parents are incredibly important because you still have an opportunity to raise a child in your image.
Yeah. And if you think that your children are just a carbon copy of you and you can treat them as such,
Yeah.
like, that's a dangerous direction to go in if you're a celebrity. You think that they're public products.
I got a lot of respect for celebrities that make their kids work. That's nice
Yeah.
to hear that Tom made
Yeah.
made
him, and
Chet
it said
get a
he's
job.
not. He's not. The funny thing is, we were talking about Army Hammer. This is a little aside, but he's not like. There's like he got a thing where he got in trouble for assault allegations, and then also for his weird cannibalistic texts that he sent. And they were like, now there's this stuff about him working at like a timeshare in the Cayman Islands, right? And I was like, how that doesn't make any sense to me because he's part of like the Arm & Hammer family fortune. His family's extremely rich. He's apparently not part of the. He's not part of the will, or he's not included in any of the wealth there. I don't know if that has to do with him acting out, but he's not like or like Michael Weatherly, the actor Michael Weatherly played DiNozzo on NCIS. He was Logan. He was on a show called Dark Angel back in the early 2000s. His dad is like a banker or an investment banker, like really, really wealthy, and cut him off when he decided to become an actor. So he kind of had to make that choice. Like his dad said, if you want to be an actor, you can, but you're not going to have access to any of our.
Who is that?
Michael Weatherly.
I don't know him.
So his dad's like, look, if you're not gonna go down a path that I think is profitable or something that's actually going to be able to make you a living, I'm not going to finance it.
I was lucky having parents that supported me, whatever I did. As long as I chose and did something and committed to it, they were like, "We're behind you, man." I mean, it wasn't
Well, his dad,
immoral.
it's not like his dad was saying you can't be an actor. He's saying I'm not going to subsidize a profession I don't think you're going to be able to make a living on. When he was younger, before he found fame, before he got well known.
They also, my parents were like, they just rolled the dice and were like, "You want to do it, you're gonna succeed." Actor, and it's like, what is it, a needle in a haystack? But the reality is, if you believe in yourself, then you're good, and your parents parents believe, if people around you believe in you, you can do it.
But also, like, what does it mean? Like, yeah, start as an actor, but then somebody ends up in production or ends up working behind the scenes. There's a million ways your life can go. It's just that you want to at least inherently allow them to try.
Yes.
At the initial, and then hope that they find their way and don't get stuck. Like, you hear the stories about people who, like, they want to become an actor and they never fall out of it, and they continue to do that even after it kind of
I know
fails.
a lot of people like
but they
that.
don't pivot and move to something else.
They
right?
become theater teachers.
Yeah.
That they say all theater teachers are failed actors. It's a joke. I mean,
But even then, like, a theater, that's still a profession or a job. Like, there's the ones that they work a minimum wage job, or people who are in a band that doesn't make it.
I know a lot of like people in their 40s and 50s and 60s in LA that are still doing just theater, looking to get that award at the next theater award ceremony, and then they work a job they hate in an office building, and like, ooh, that's a. I know you like acting, but I mean, you can make your own career. You don't need to be beholden to other people's projects.
I had a friend growing up whose parents were both theater geeks. They both did theater at night, but had good careers during the day, but loved acting and loved working on stage, but just didn't make a career out of it because they didn't see it as a viable way of raising a family. They had kids. They weren't going to be able to do that. But they still loved and were energized by the theater, and said that when they were younger and they were trying to make a living in the theater, like acting and do theater, it kind of depleted their love of the craft because they were trying to make a living for it and do well. And when it wasn't really working out, when they weren't making a good living, it kind of made them resentful towards what they were doing. Once they accepted that that wasn't going to be what they did for a living, but it was still something they could be passionate about and do, they had a lot more love for what they were doing. And something similar happened like that with me in skating. When I quit doing it for sponsors and quit doing it in a monetary fashion, or at least traveling or trying to film sections, do stuff like that, and I just started doing it for myself, it reinvigorated my passion for the sport.
Yes. So. As a child, we would make home movies like the Ninja movie and stuff, and I'd be and then I got into the entertainment industry and I was doing commercials like for Wendy's and stuff, and I'm like, what am I doing? They had me saying stuff like, I don't care what's in it as long as it tastes good, and I'm like, this is trash.
They had you say that?
Yeah, that was the moment. That was the crux when I realized this is not the industry I want to be in. I don't want to lie. Not only I don't mind pretending on camera, but saying things that I viscerally disagree with to sell a product is a different story. Commercialism. Like, I was a commercial actor, unfortunately. I didn't have a theater agent. I had a commercial agent. The theater agents are the ones that get you job roles for like TV and movies. They call them theatrical agents, even though it's not just theater, it's also TV and movies. But then there's commercial agents. For whatever reason, I didn't put that together, and I only had a commercial agent, so I was just doing commercial work. And it got to the point where it was like a business, and it wasn't fun. I wasn't getting joy out of it. I was looking for work more than I was actually working. I had to leave the industry to start acting again. Now I'm doing it like with the vlog.
Yeah.
And it's
turning out great, by the way.
It's so much more fun. You just get to make your own stuff, you know. It's kind of the point.
Organic.
That's what we did in the beginning, and you know.
Should we do super chats?
Yes.
Okay.
Jonathan Harris said, for Ian, when you found God last night, I looked up the Schwarzschild proton with Nassim Haramein.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of the context of what happened on IRL last night, but
we were talking about. I've been thinking about God a lot. Like if something's going to bring people together in this reality, maybe it's the idea of this all ever-present force that's out there, this vibrating membrane of action. And Nassim Haramein's a scientist that mathematically basically solved a unifying field equation showing that every proton in the universe is 2 protons revolving around a black hole at the speed of light, depositing information into this black hole and then coming back out of it and repositing whatever it is, God's information back into reality. And it seems like it feels like that might be like a way that God is communicating with us. Sometimes it brings me to tears. Like when you're saying what you believe and you really feel it. Yep. It's easy to let your body go and just kind of speak through the pain of reality, I guess.
Interesting. Hope we get into it tonight on IRL.
Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah. James Orenthal. I still don't know how to say your last name.
Win?
Win? I'm sorry. Said, my mom and I used to say or text Vietnamese and give each other the hand from the end gym scene in Mean Girls. Happy weekend ahead, PCC fam.
The weekend. about time. No E, or with an E in weekend, not Weekend the Rapper.
Someone
Weekend.
said, Mary, what you know about All That, Zoomer? I watched All That, but I watched it on
Thank you.
YouTube because I heard about it later on. Nye Mechworks said, ever think about giant fighting robots? I've been building them in power armor in my garage for pretty cheap.
That's amazing.
I mean, send one our way.
Well, no, like there's an infinite world now for like people who are creative and have their own endeavors to like make content on like that's what the internet. If there's one thing that the internet and social media it's great for, it's the ability to like for people who had like unique hobbies before to like show people what they do now. One of my favorite things to do is watch the guy. Have you seen the guy who like he builds pools himself? Like by himself, he digs the pool out and literally makes it like 20 years ago. That's just a really awesome skill to have. Now he can get like a gazillion views on YouTube showing him literally building a pool with his bare hands from scratch.
Dude, BattleBots. You guys ever watch BattleBots?
Yes!
No,
shows?
I didn't.
Oh, it's awesome. You can watch them all
Sounds
over
like
YouTube.
something Brett would love.
It's like BattleBots 2.0 now.
BattleBots.
The bots have improved.
I also recently I almost bought. Do you remember Street Sharks?
No.
Okay. I'll send somebody a picture. They were like toys from it was a cartoon as well. Great stuff.
Oh, I remember the cartoon.
Yes.
Caper2X said, Ian, plan a visit to the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. Real out there stuff was measured by instruments. Check Dr. Travis Taylor, a real physicist.
Yeah, someone else mentioned Skinwalker to me a couple days ago,
I
too.
remember hearing something about Skinwalker Ranch.
This is
recently.
something maybe Shane Cashman could get involved with as well.
Yep.
Nick Cannon needs to wild and pull out. Said
but
that app. Nathan Koss said, Kim doesn't need to freeze her eggs so long as the illegal migrant she has chained in her lair sits on them and the Kardashian line will be secure.
That's a terrifyingly.
I mean, it's so close to reality, honestly.
Make that fanfic.
Cheeseburger said, as a New Zealander, allow me to apologize for Taika Waititi. I think he's awful. Love you, Ian. You're Jesus-esque weirdo.
Hey, love you too, man. Yeah,
Look, just because he has long hair doesn't make him Jesus-esque.
So that's the illusion of it. You got to look through the hair and the facial hair.
New Zealand did, however, produce Manu Bennett, who is a fantastic actor. So we will trade.
Did you guys see that with Jojo Rabbit?
Did.
Taika Waititi. It looked so bad from the commercials.
That's his
that I
wheelhouse.
Is it good?
It's good. That's his wheelhouse. Serious topics done in satirical I recommend watching it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Got a lot of press.
Moongoon7 said, Brett, what's your favorite Batman movie? I also feel like we would be best friends.
We could be. You never know. If not, it would have been Batman 89, but to me, honestly, Batman Begins. Controversial opinion, I like Batman Begins more than I like The Dark Knight, because I feel like the imagery of the movie is closer to comic book lore, and it does a better job of differentiating Gotham City from just being Chicago. And I like that version of that character. I do love, as much as me and Dane argue about Ben Affleck, I like Ben Affleck as Batman. I love Christian Bale as Batman. Michael Keaton is obviously most people's number one, but I haven't watched those movies. I love Batman 89 in Returns, but I think Batman Begins is my favorite.
Is that the first Christian Bale movie?
Yes.
I had the exact same thought process just then, because I saw the first Batman movie first in the 80s, and I was obsessed. Every kid was like obsessed with Michael. It was so. But looking back, I mean, Jack Nicholson's incredible, but it was kind of cheesy, like relative to Batman Begins, which is so epic.
Yep. It's there's a seriousness and a lack of winking at the camera to those movies, which is why I think it works in a way that even now, even though there was brutal scenes in the Zack Snyder Batman vs Superman, as well as Justice League, there's like serious scenes in there that are done that way. But even with the Joss Whedon cut, there's a lot of winking at the camera, and because they're introducing superheroes, and when you have a character like Batman, there has to be a certain level of pointing out the absurdity of like this normal person surviving in a world of gods and monsters. And I like the fact that what Nolan did was essentially create crime noir and introduce a Batman character. And a lot of people told him that wouldn't work. And I think that the lack of winking at the camera and the kind of leaning into the seriousness of it is what made it work.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Also, was it Cillian Murphy? Was he in that first one?
One
of the best actors in the world, I think.
As Scarecrow.
I was suggesting him as the new James Bond.
His eyes are too dead to play James Bond.
He's amazing.
He's playing
but
Robert
would
J.
he
Oppenheimer.
be an amazing James Bond?
I don't think he would be an amazing James Bond.
I think he could do anything. That guy is stellar. 28 Days Later blew my freaking mind.
He's playing Robert J. Oppenheimer in the new Nolan movie.
Oh, who's Oppenheimer?
Split the Atom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the dead eyes we need
Yeah.
to play Oppenheimer. Thanks, Killian.
Sean Kelly said, "Happy Friday, buddies. Love y'all and love the show." Ian, how much do you know about Temujin? Is that Genghis Khan?
Yes, Temujin is Genghis Khan. Temujin, Jamuka, his friend who betrayed him later. Temujin, I know a lot about it because he used to play Genghis Khan, the Koei game on the Sega Genesis. So I learned a lot about the physiology, like the physicalness. Bort, his wife, one of the most incredible women in Mongol history, if not the most incredible woman. His brilliant children, except Tului was a bit of an alcoholic, unfortunately, or was it Ugude? Ugude, I think, was an alcoholic. I know a lot more.
Bet
but
you
really
the
gonna do it
alcohol
in-
was a lot stronger
Is Nick
back
Cannon the Genghis Khan of our generation?
he's getting there.
It's possible.
Jonathan Harris said, "They're having babies because it's profitable to do so, not because they want children." Is it profitable for them, though? What's the argument for that?
I don't know.
Confused. Oh, I lost my place. Caleb Sherd said, "As an older millennial, I mostly use Facebook, YouTube, and Snapchat, but have Instagram and other apps because of my younger siblings."
I had a Snapchat when I was younger, but never really got into it, and I quit. The greatest decision I ever made was quitting Facebook. Long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, as somebody who is square in that millennial age where if I was to log into Facebook right now, I guarantee you there's people I know arguing about something that doesn't frickin' matter to anyone. Like, I was so like when Roe v. Wade happened, I was like, I'm not going on Facebook today. This is freaking awesome.
I'll log into Facebook every once in a while, and I'll see somebody will leave a comment that's like, "Oh, here we go again," and I'm like, "It's no," and I'm like, "They're talking about politics, aren't they?"
Of course.
And they are. And then the comments are about politics. I'm like, oh, jeez. But they talk about it as if everyone already knows they're talking about it, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
Caper2X said, "Brett Cooper versus Mary debate. Make it happen, Brett." I think they're
They're talking about me, Brett.
How are you going to make it happen? And what debate about
do I
what?
know? Does somebody think I have the hookup to talk to Brett Cooper? Because if you do, I would love that hookup.
Wait, what would we debate about? We probably agree on like almost everything.
What would you two debate about? I'd like to hear you two talk about religion.
Well,
I don't know if she talks about religion that much. So,
I mean, it's not really her wheelhouse.
there you go.
know.
You've got an edge in the debate.
She's great. I would love to see you guys talk about stuff.
She's
She's super smart.
Yeah, I just doubt that it would be very interesting to watch us debate about anything.
It's just you guys agreeing on stuff
Yeah,
the whole
like-
time.
Like, what movies are better?
Yeah.
Well,
Why?
she's cultural. She might. I don't know how aware she is. She covers a lot of not the same stuff we
Some
do,
of
but
the same
she
stuff.
touches the edge of like the same topics
Sure.
we do. She's far more political than we are.
Unavailable ID name said, "I work third shift to be there for my kids. Their teachers hated me."
Oh, well, good for you for staying there and not letting the teachers bully you around or like push you around.
Waffle Sensei said, "That moment was beautiful last night, Ian. It is real. Love you, bro."
Yeah, dog.
Kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where it's like those things don't happen in real life, except for they happened last night.
They do.
Like, where it's
Jordan,
like,
Jordan Peterson saved my life. I say that like in 2017, I was really down and dark and like had given up a lot on just life in general. And I saw him, and then you see him cry when he's talking because he believes what he's saying and he feels it so purely. Dude, last night the messages I got after that, like this is the life to live.
That's awesome. Third crisis party.
crisis party.
That's
that is
the first time that's ever happened.
That is incredible, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Third first.
And
First
Caleb
third.
Sherd said, "I believe spirituality is important. I've been spiritual my entire life. I've made huge leaps in my faith from being a Baptist minister as a young adult to being an eclectic pagan here in East Texas." Interesting evolution.
Yeah, paganism's fascinating. Not the violent past history, but just the love of nature. I love
I think
that they
a lot
worship
of
trees.
religions have violence in their past
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Well, that's
If
a
it's
human
human,
trait.
then it's-
Yeah, that's just
human.
humanity.
Yep.
Bad App said, "Bro, street sharks are with the best."
Yeah, I highly recommend. There's a lot of I've been watching a lot of old Darkwing Duck. Because somebody was talking about original Looney Tunes and Tiny Toons like the other day. There's so much of that stuff that I don't have the time for right now just because I'm so busy. But if it's the end of the day, I love being able to put on stuff that is older
Do you ever watch Ren and Stimpy?
I have not. It's from my generation.
I felt that it was the show that changed maybe spectacles, but changed the visuals of cartoons to make them more grotesque, like where the eyeball would start pumping out and you see these veins like
Absolutely.
Jonathan Harris said, Brett, I hate to burst your bubble, but some of those build a giant pool in the middle of the jungle channels have been proven fake.
Well, you know what? You said some. And if not all, then I have to have faith that there's at least one that did it himself. And to be honest, there's a lot more than that. There's people who just do really good, it's people who have really good woodworking channels, where 20 years ago, you're just a guy who has a great skill that he can use to make a profession out of. Now you make really...
There's one that specializes in rat traps.
Oh,
he like shows
incredible.
Dead rats and stuff.
There's one guy that I listen to. It's literally just him building stuff and saying stuff really cynically and mean as he's building it, where he's like, "Oh, I'm going to build this bowl because the supply chains are freaking dying," and it's all just really negative stuff, but it's done in like a comical. It's clearly meant to be like your mean uncle talking to you while he's like building something.
Yeah.
It's great.
Bad Ab said, "Do you remember Space Ghost Coast to Coast?"
I do.
My dad's
I
a
don't.
huge fan. It was kind of like what Art Bell's Coast to Coast, I think, was the show that it was modeled after. It's really funny. It's really, really good. Space Ghost was great.
Moongood7 said, Brett, Batman Begins is my favorite too. And okay, stop bashing Taika. Has anyone on here seen his show, What We Do in the Shadows on FX? You will laugh your butt off. Check it out.
He's What We Do in the Shadows. That's got very high reviews and praise from across the board.
I'm glad we had this conversation. I had a lot of annoyance towards the guy just from watching the ads of them running in slow motion, all fake, and you're like, "What is this?" But I'm now believing that he's extremely talented.
I like him better as an actor than as a director. Like him acting is also always funnier to me. Like I said, if you guys haven't seen Free Guy, he plays the tech billionaire bad guy in Free Guy. It's really if you want an idea of where movies could go, if we're talking about where blockbuster movies could go, that would be in a more intelligent
Like
sci-fi
direction.
That is the movie to look at, and I do know that they're making a sequel to it. So I highly recommend. I think it's on HBO Max, but I'm not 110% sure. But it's on one of them.
I wish
Check
I'd
out
seen
Free
it
Guy.
in theaters.
Yes. Oh no, and that's the thing. They lean into video game culture. The one thing that kind of sucked about the movie is they have like appearances from like gamers, like e-girls and stuff like that. It's meant. I don't remember off the top. Somebody in the chat might be able to remember. But yeah, like I don't remember if PewDiePie was in it, but a bunch of like like
I feel like
real
I would've heard
life
about that.
But it was done on purpose to like loop you into the culture. But definitely check out that movie.
That's cool.
Yep.
Jonathan Harris said, Brett, I have recent jokes with my friends that the modern interpretation of Gotham gives Chicago vibes and Bloodhaven is Detroit. I thought Gotham was supposed to be Manhattan, though.
Gotham, well, the thing is, though, is they filmed most of those movies, like all of the Nolan movies were filmed in Chicago. Right, so you're gonna
on the loop. Oh, those train is the loop.
Yeah,
oh, cool.
So we're filmed. I mean, also they take aerial shots from all over the country in the world to do. Yeah, especially for night aerial shots can be from anywhere. But they were filmed there because Chicago is like New York or like California, which means they have great tax credits for filming there. So,
what's the other city that was like Detroit? What's that?
He said, yeah, Bloodhaven.
What's Bloodhaven?
Bloodhaven's another town, another city in the DC in DC canon. Then I would like to know who exactly is. What's the other one? The one where the Suicide Squad's from. I forget.
Right, because it's where
Corto Maltese. Which American city is Corto Maltese? That's not Suicide Squad, but that is another place.
It's Metropolis. That's New York, I think, in the DC canon, right?
Yeah. There's you can find these really funny graphs that tell you like who the richest, and they have like the actual net worths of all of the characters. It's really funny.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, Happy Friday, Crisis Crew. Let's have a third Crisis party. Thank you.
Do it. And done.
We did it.
Chris said, you guys need to play Marvel Champions card game. Pretty fun. Just released Spider-Verse expansion.
I wonder if people are excited about Across the Spider-Verse as much as that. Did you either of you see Into the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Man animated movie?
I've seen clips. I've seen
Miles
like
Morales.
parts of it in the background.
I think like when we talk earlier about like race swapping characters and changing characters, that's a different character, but they're doing the stupid thing where he's a mantle. But it's a rare example.
T-Rex.
Mantle. It's a rare example of where that character is. People love Miles Morales as Spider-Man. He's not Peter Parker, but they do like him as that character. And Into the Spider-Verse is really, really good. So it's going to be interesting to see if people end up liking Across the Spider-Verse.
Nathan Koss said, "The wind that shakes the barley is Cillian Murphy's best work."
So it's Killian. It's pronounced Killian?
Yeah, it's Killian for sure.
I always said Cillian
I
because
thought
it looks like Cillian to me, but it's Killian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love this guy. He's so good.
Caper2X said, "Or interview Mary at worst. You could gain a best friend." I don't know if that's worst. I think Brett Cooper is cool.
Yep.
I just doubt we would disagree on much, but we should chat. Last
1,000 Foot Deep End says, as a reward for getting 3 Crisis Parties, can we please get T-Rex
Brett?
Brett? Technically, I
They
already
got it
There
without
it is.
even having
I
to
already
ask.
did it. Yes,
You do it so often.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Well, I'm always
run in terror.
I'm always sarcastically quoting something.
What's he going to eat next?
Let's do a quick through of the Podluck segments. I'm just going to talk about some suggestions I have for people for stuff to check out here. So the first thing that I want people to go look at is this Winnie the Pooh and the Winnie the Pooh Blood Honey poster. If you guys remember, Winnie the Pooh is now in the public domain, which means we're getting horror movie Winnie the Pooh.
Did they say this was December next year?
I believe so. Or no,
It
I think
really
December
ought
of
to
this
be-
year.
Wait,
I think
what?
it's coming up this year.
Merry Christmas.
It really ought to be a Halloween
You would
movie.
think it would
That
be.
kind of bothers me.
So basically, the idea here says the poster started doing the rounds on social media on July 14th, and people say it's only made them more excited for the film. We have been pushing this movie big time. It's going to be
love
great.
it.
One person wrote, "Amazes me that this is a real thing." It does, like, now imagine, look at this poster. Now that Steamboat Willie has entered the public domain, we can now make
Sequel in the
serial
making.
killer Willie, who runs people over with an actual steamboat. That's what we need.
Get in the water.
No, but they said if it reminds anyone of Disney, they can sue. So,
Okay. So it's got to be different
I
art.
don't know.
Then you put a mask. Then you put a Steamboat Willie mask on a man and let him.
Speedboat Willie. Can we?
Yeah, I am a
Hold on.
little confused by Blood and Honey. Like, is it a guy dressed up as
Yes,
Winnie?
I believe it's a guy dressed. up as
Finally,
Winnie.
I'm done with. I mean, I'm not done, but the animations have are starting to get on my nerves.
yeah,
I like
same.
guys and people in costumes.
Says he added Christopher Robin is pulled away from them and he's not giving them food. It's made Pooh and Piglet's life quite difficult. So I think
love
the
it.
idea here
That
is like
they've gone feral.
I think it's the idea that it's
hungry.
actually guys, clearly people wearing masks, but they're not going to acknowledge that they're guys wearing masks. That they're just going
Yeah.
to pretend like they're actually Pooh and
Yeah.
So
I love Piglet's tusks.
Yes, it's going to be
So
great.
funny.
Hardcore.
And before we go, I do want to point out one more thing. If you guys have not watched this, go and watch this animated short for The Last Ronin. If you don't know what The Last Ronin is, it is a comic book series that came out this year based on an old script from, I believe, Eastman came up with it in the 90s, where 3 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have died. Splinter has died, and there is one turtle left set out to exact revenge and basically take out the people that took out his brothers. I don't know if I want to ruin it for you guys which one it is, but
I have a guess. You don't need to tell me. Do you want me to guess?
I mean, I don't know if people here I haven't been reading the full. It's coming out in comics right now. It's an IDW thing. But
he's got all the weapons on his back.
he's got all 4 of the turtles' weapons on his back. It is a fantastic concept and story idea. Go and watch this. This is not an officially licensed thing. This is just some dude who's been reading the series.
I got goosebumps for the first time.
Who made this
on the show?
It is really, really good. Go and watch this. You will love it, and it's something that you guys should absolutely be checking out because if you're looking for great interpretations of like past. I've got the photo that's directly from the first 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie behind me, so I'm very passionate about that original film, and so seeing it brought back to darker roots here is great.
Yeah, did you read the original black and white comics?
I have some of them. I was never a big fan.
The foot soldiers were humans. They would
Yes.
kill people,
Yes.
and then for the cartoon they turned them into robots.
But then in the movie, there it's the foot are all humans again, and that's that 1990s movie is, in my opinion, what we could be doing with movies today if we got rid of CGI. and embraced animatronics again.
And Vanilla Ice.
And
again.
well, that was the second one. And that one's a lot
Turtle
camp,
Power. That was the second
yeah,
one?
that one's a lot campier. They actually had to, if you notice, they almost never use their weapon. The weapons stay holstered. That's why Michelangelo's like hitting people with like sausages rather than using his nunchucks.
Oh.
And Donatello or one of them hits a guy with a yo-yo because the parents complained that the 1990 movie was too dark. It was not too dark. The 1990 movie was perfect. So you guys should go and watch this. It's on YouTube. It just says TMNT The Last Ronin animation. It's really, really good, guys. So that's what I had today. So, yes. Do you want to do Womp Womp Womp, or do we just...
I think it's a pretty good Womp Womp
It is
Womp.
funny. Okay. So it says, imagine you're...
Basically, Kourtney Kardashian is to blame
for the
drought in California.
They're holding her responsible.
Single-handedly.
She left her sink on.
It says Kourtney Kardashian slammed as water use 245% above allotment required.
This is a Newsweek.
Yes, this is a real thing. So it says my favorite here is that the person they literally use the word unconscionable, which you cannot say that while talking to someone and not sound like a douchebag if you're insulting them.
How dare you? How absolutely dare you?
Their nose. If you say unconscionable and you're yelling at someone, your nose has to literally be in the air.
They said, maybe try and give a single F about literally anything besides yourself.
Yes.
Your water consumption is outrageous. They should charge you an insane fee for how inconsiderate you are.
These people are authoritarians. They are very authoritarian. I'm very libertarian when it comes to my beliefs on water usage. You should be...
Something I learned from Michelangelo in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon is when you're brushing your teeth, turn the water off while you're brushing, then turn it back on when you rinse and spit, and then turn
Very
it back
wise.
off. Yeah.
Did you watch the cartoon more, or did you like the movies?
I watched the cartoon a lot in the late 80s.
The-
Huge. I had the toys, all
the van with the chute that shot the
I never
pizzas?
got the turtle van. The turtle van. Turtle van, is that what it's
Turtle
called?
van, yeah.
I had all four of the guys. We had Bebop and I had
and
Rocksteady. I didn't have Bebop. I had Shredder, Splinter,
Krang?
I had the didn't have the Krang. I didn't have the robot Krang.
Got
we had
expensive.
Toka and Razor and stuff. So
That
it was
was-
post movie too.
That was okay. Another thing is if you haven't, also go watch. It's one of those things that you never know you needed to see until you see it. Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated movie is incredible, absolutely incredible.
Wow.
It's on HBO Max, so go watch that.
I felt like I was in the middle. You were in the middle of continuing on the article when I
Yes.
started to speak.
Oh, I mean, I just found it funny, all of the tweets that were scolding her.
There's some more. It says a third angrily added 75,000 people rely on a water supply that's dangerously low, and you're going over your share by 245%. Why are you such an a-hole? I mean, this
Well,
is
look,
not...
I understand it from the perspective of the Kardashians probably being climate change,
yeah.
not activists.
I don't know if they are.
But all of them are required to, make obligatory statements.
I kind of
about
like the
that
idea that behind
subject.
the scenes, Kim Kardashian's climate
Are
change.
they secretly based?
They're,
No.
yeah, behind the scenes.
I mean,
she's
they
just
do use sweatshops, so they can't care that much.
She flies her jet on purpose because she knows it's bad for the environment. I like that concept of
Take it around again.
Yeah, a fan fiction of her where she's like, let's go around one
Do
more
a
time.
donut. I love it.
Says if you're going over by that, if you're going by that by 200%, 300%, you're really overusing your share of water, Creech said. There's no way around it. So it's just people scolding them and yelling at them for using a lot of water. Are they overusing water? Probably. But imagine having to be a person where that's California is just crappy and mismanaging. That's California, right? It's a drought.
I think the 75,000 people they were referring to are in Calabasas only, though.
Okay, so rich personville.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Woe was you.
There's a couple super chats, and then we will take off.
Sure. Waffle Sensei said, a wise man says, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for a full pizza.
For late pizza.
Also,
For late pizza.
Late pizza.
Also,
the lone
121
turtle
and an 8.
better be Raphael.
It is.
We don't know yet.
I do know, but I don't know if people want me to. It's
Don't spoil it.
I won't
Go
spoil it.
find out. Watch it on
Go
YouTube.
watch it. Oh, actually, I don't know if they actually mention it in this animation, but in the comics, you learn who it is, and it's not who you'd expect, which is why it's great. And then one more.
Johnny Beck just sent us a thumbs up.
And then wise men say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza, because in the first movie they're getting the pizza delivered, and the pizza delivery guy can't find their address because they live in a sewer, and the address is like 122 and an 8. Where the hell is 122 and an 8?
I think that's actually what he says.
You're standing on it, dude.
Yeah.
It's freaking great. And I get, if I remember correctly, the guy who plays that pizza man is like one of the directors on the movie, or is like worked on the film. I love that movie. That's I could talk about the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie all day.
It was great. We should too, because I felt like Shredder, they made him like I don't know, he's Japanese, I think.
Yeah.
So he wasn't like the Shredder in the cartoon was very very fluent in English, so it was very easy to follow his train of thought.
It's the voice of the dad from Family Matters or whatever, or like not Family. Somebody'd have to point it. It's
the guy who does Shredder in the cartoon. That guy?
In the movie, it's an Asian American actor. I was just talking about the other, and then it's like, I don't know if it's Family Matters, but it's the dad from one of those 90s sitcoms does the voice. It might be Fresh Prince. It might be his dad.
That makes sense.
So it's the Asian actor, but then the voice is changed to have the deep in tone. And there, I found some great pictures online the other day when I was looking up some stuff of like, one thing that we miss now is we don't have access, like, because everyone has a phone in their pocket. Somebody posted all of these Polaroids that got taken from behind the scenes from that movie, and it's like of Shredder without his helmet on, like in like a lawn chair drinking a water. And it's like the film is blown out, and it's just like you'll never have that type of, like, me seeing that picture not being there. It's like you're seeing this treasure trove from a forgotten age, and you'll never have that anymore, because all you'll have is just the stupid pictures of people taking on their phones. So.
Although I came across a trove of pictures from like 2 years ago when I worked at this giant theater on the East Coast in Norwalk, Connecticut, and it was like uncovering a trove just because I hadn't seen it in a long time. Digital, there were 1,000 pictures, but it was still like that similar feeling. It's pretty cool.
The less prepared you are for the picture, the more memorable it will be later. Because you can retake your picture 19 times before you get the right one. It's very manufactured. Whereas if you're looking at these pictures, it's just people. Like, I love that. I love behind the scenes photos from movie sets and stuff like that, because you catch people at this unique period in their life. And to see Shredder without his helmet on, in the purple costume with like the bracelets of spikes on his hand, while he's like sitting in a lawn chair, clearly not in character. That's incredible. So. It's great.
Very quaint.
Very, very quaint. So, Ian, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me, man.
Let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me at iancrossland.net, and then that is a portal. It'll take you to any of my social medias where you can always hit me up. And, of course, you can find me tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Timcast IRL on YouTube.
And you've got a green radioactive glow behind you.
Look at
right
this
now.
wild pulse behind me.
Yeah, we could turn Ian into a comic book character.
I love it.
All right, Mary, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram or WeChat at Closer Kitty. I post opinion pieces about some of the topics we talk about on here, and I promote them there. And I'm also going to be on IRL tonight, too, so you'll see me later.
Shill. Guys, you can find me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic for the show. Thank you. Oh, I will read it before we go. It says, Brett, would you rather be naked and afraid with Ian or Love is Blind with Tim and never get a word in?
Speaking to Tim Pool through a screen.
I don't know if I can answer. Naked and Afraid with Ian. We're doing Naked and Afraid with Ian.
I was not expecting that.
I have to be able to get my word in. That's a part of it. So, for the show, guys, every day, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube, Pop Culture Crisis, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you want to listen rather than watch, I don't know why you wouldn't want to watch. You get to see Ian with a radioactive head. You get to see money shooting everywhere.
Beautiful faces.
But, well, yes. Mary's beautiful face. And like I said, I have a face for radio, but that's fine. You can listen to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. Social media, we're on Twitter at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.